हरिओम एवरीवन, नमस्ते। आज का प्रोग्राम शुरू करने से पहले मैं आज यस मैम
अब स्टार्ट करिए।
अच्छा,
हाँ जी।
हरिओम एवरीवन, नमस्ते। आज का प्रोग्राम शुरू करने से पहले मैं लता मंगेशकर जी को श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करना चाहूंगी। लता मंगेशकर जी द नाइटिंगेल ऑफ इंडिया, सुरों की देवी, जिन्हें सरस्वती का स्वरूप भी माना जाता है, जिन्होंने पिछले 8 दशकों से हमें अपनी दिव्य आवाज से मंत्र मुक्त किया था, आज हमारे बीच नहीं रही। सुबह ही उनका निधन हुआ, जिसके साथ पूरे देश में ही नहीं अपितु पूरे विश्व में शोक 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 फैला हुआ है। उन्हें हमारी ओर से भावपूर्ण श्रद्धांजलि। And now let's begin the session. Welcome to the 10th session of WHRF Yoga Research Study Circle Group. Today's presentation is on the role of diet and relaxation during the menstruation cycle, which is something every woman has to undergo each month from approximately the age of 12 to maybe the age of 50 sometimes, and has to combat several issues during those days. Our speaker today is Dept Sehgal ji. Namaste Deepti ji. She is the founder of Swarasya, India's first beauty and self-care education brand, offering beauty education and ancient skincare product line. She's also a microbiotic nutritionist, a renowned yoga and wellness coach, and an author too. She will enlighten us about the right diet to be followed during the monthly cycle and also guide us on relaxation techniques that will bring relief during those days. Over to you, Deepti ji.
Thank you so much, Mansi ji. It was a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much. And this session today that I've chosen to speak about, I guess it's a very important session and an understanding that every female should have, irrespective of what age she is into, as soon as you get into puberty, till your menopause happens and even later. This kind of information is very important, and specifically since all of us come from this yogic background, we do understand how important hormones are. And rather yoga में तो ये भी कहा जाता है कि आपकी पूरी body and mind की जो health है is dependent upon hormones. I mean, you can change your body, your mind just by manipulating those hormones, right? So if hormones are such an important thing in our day-to-day life, which is not I would not say not much emphasized on, but yoga revolves around this concept, whereas modern way of looking at things is kind of segregated, doesn't get to the root of the problem. But what I want to talk about today is menstrual cycle, जो कि एक female की life का बहुत important part है, right from the time when puberty happens till menopause, or it's like every month the cycle goes on. So आप सोचिए हमारी life का कितना part हम we spend living that cycle. I mean, when I say that cycle, there are 4 phases which I'll be talking in the session, but the whole idea is कि हम जब month to month transition करते हैं, right from puberty till menopause, हर महीने हम 4 phases में जाते हैं, and we don't know what these 4 phases are, और उन 4 phases के हिसाब से हमारी body में क्या changes आते हैं, उन changes के हिसाब से हमारी body की needs क्या रहती हैं, चाहे वो exercise है, चाहे वो lifestyle है, चाहे वो yogic practices हैं, क्या हमारा रूटीन होना चाहिए, डिपेंडिंग कि वो उन 4 फेजेस में क्या हो रहा है, और वो क्या हो रहा है इज हाईली डिपेंडेंट अपॉन हाउ आवर हार्मोन्स आर बिहेविंग इनसाइड. सो दिस इज व्हाट आई वुड वांट टू कवर. सो आई विल जस्ट शेयर माय स्क्रीन एंड देन आई विल स्टार्ट द सेशन. Okay, is my screen visible? Can anybody let me know if my screen is visible?
It's visible, ma'am.
Okay, great. ठीक है. So okay, so जो हमारा topic है, that is role of diet and relaxation during menstrual cycle. But before getting into the role, I would first want to talk about, let's just first understand menstruation होता क्या है. I mean, from the perspective of the times since we started to understand कि menstruation होता है और किस तरीके से हम इवॉल्व हुए हैं over years, and how it has impacted how our cycle goes through the day, and ultimately that becomes the root or the base of everything that we go through in life, whether it be health concerns or emotional concerns, or our focus, concentration, our ability to take decisions. Everything gets centered around what's happening at the base of what's going on. So बिल्कुल base से मैं start करना चाहूंगी understanding. So let's just first understand. Just give me a second. I'll just screen go and just see if I can enlarge the screen. Okay, anyways, so let's see the history of menstruation. मतलब हमें नहीं पता कि कब हिस्ट्री स्टार्ट हुई थी, बट हम यहाँ पर ये देखने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि जब से मेंस्ट्रुअल साइकिल की हिस्ट्री है फॉर वुमेन, from that time onwards how have women been treated. So very long topic, मैं बहुत ज्यादा डिटेल में नहीं जाऊंगी, but we know if we look, अगर हम बहुत ज्यादा पीछे भी नहीं जाएं, हम सिर्फ अपने एंसेस्टर्स के टाइम पे जाएं या अपने ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स या उनसे पहले की जनरेशंस में जाएं, तो we know that menstruation is the time when females were told to be मतलब इसके बारे में बात नहीं करनी है, या एक रूम में, मतलब you be limited to your own circle. Yeah, in some cultures women were also shamed and feared and disempowered in many different ways during those specific times of menstrual cycle. कई cultures में ऐसा भी था कि जो feminism की जो needs है वो compromise होती थी, जो कि अभी भी होती हैं. I guess this culture is still on. For example, during our menstrual phase time, that is the time when our body actually needs rest. मतलब not that कि we should be doing it. The idea is we have to do it. That is the idea, but हम उसको prioritize नहीं करते हैं. So वो जो needs of feminism है उनको हम priority नहीं देते हैं. And that is also because somewhere we are at par with men. We want to do anything and everything and prove ourselves that whatever a man can do, we can also do, which is perfectly okay. But we cannot deny the cycles that we go through. We cannot deny how nature has designed a female body, and we have to respect it. And the third thing, most important that I came across was कि as females, we want to take multiple roles. Sometimes we want to take multiple roles. Sometimes by choice or by chance we have to take multiple roles. We don't have a choice there. But खैर उसके बारे में मैं आगे बात करूंगी. But the whole idea is कि चाहे वो past का time हो, history का, चाहे आज का time हो, the way women have been groomed to look at their menstrual cycle. Like I remember when the way my mother told me about it, or my grandmother may have told my mother about it. It was not a very it was not a very open kind of feeling. You had to be really closed and किसी को बताना नहीं है, आपका stain नहीं होना चाहिए, be very particular. मतलब rest की कोई बात नहीं करता था, आप what to expect की कोई बात नहीं करता था. The only idea was okay, you started menstruating and then now you have to be particular. And as I was doing this research, I also came across this fact कि कई cultures में the only thing that was being taught to women was that since now you've started menstruating, they were the only thing that they were taught was about now you are at the risk of getting pregnant. So उस mindset से जब एक generations चली आती हैं, तो of course that flows in the families. That's how like a mother will tell her daughter, and that's how the cycle would go on. So a lot of openness has happened in the modern times, but still somewhere ये story वहां से शुरू हुई जहां पर we are still not very open and very acceptable about the feelings that we go through during different cycles of menstruation and how we should be looking at it. So this is little about the history. But before we actually get into the topic, एक बहुत important topic के बारे में मैं बात करना चाहूंगी. Again, this is the concept of very spiritual concept of yoga, which is about divine energies, feminine energies and masculine energies. मैं बहुत ज़्यादा detail में नहीं जाऊंगी इस concept पे, because this is the concept of duality coming in from Sankhya philosophy. Also a very deep-rooted concept in Ayurveda. Like this is the concept from where even Ayurveda starts from. But the whole idea is this concept says the concept of, आप इसको duality का concept बोलो या divine energies का concept बोलो, the idea is that nature survives on balance. मतलब अगर nature center में है तो center के right में कुछ हो रहा है और left में कुछ हो रहा है, and these are the two extremes. For example, there is a day, there is a night. If there is good, there is bad. If there is sweet, there is salt. If there is doing, there is being. And जितना भी हमारा जो एक्टिविटी वाला पार्ट आ जाता है उसमें, लाइक टू डिवाइन एनर्जीज, हम डुअलिटी की बात करें तो जो उस डुअलिटी को हम फेमिनिन और मैस्कुलिन डुअलिटी की फॉर्म में भी समझ सकते हैं. एंड दिस इज हाउ वी नो ऑन अर्थ टू डिफरेंट काइंड्स ऑफ इंडिविजुअल्स एग्जिस्ट, अ मेल एंड अ फीमेल. नाउ स्पेसिफिकली अब ये कॉन्सेप्ट बहुत ब्रॉड है, ये हर चीज में अप्लाई होता है, बट हमारे टॉपिक के लिए आज अगर मुझे इस कॉन्सेप्ट को अप्लाई करना है तो इसको हम समझेंगे इन द फॉर्म ऑफ मैस्कुलिन एनर्जीज कौन सी होती हैं और फेमिनिन एनर्जीज कौन सी होती हैं, और आज के टाइम में द वे वी लिव और द वे वी हैव बीन टॉट टू लिव एज अ पार्ट ऑफ आवर एजुकेशन, व्हाट वी आर बीइंग टॉट इज more of living a masculine energy. Now, don't get literally take the word masculine the way I'm saying it. What does masculine means? Of course, masculine means male, but masculine also means young. Masculine also means being very active. Masculine also means sun, brightness, or feminine means soothing, motherly, female, girl, passive, not very active. So अगर आप इसके adjectives में जाओगे तो in this entire universe, everything has its duality, and this duality can be divided in n number of forms. हमारी understanding के लिए हम the way we live today is the masculine energy that we live today. Like हम हमेशा doing mode में होते हैं, in the sense कि सुबह उठे, we have certain tasks to do, we'll complete certain tasks and then we'll move on to something else, then something else and something else. या हमारे माइंड में होता है कि हमें प्रोडक्टिव होना है, राइट? मतलब हमें कुछ करना है, देना है, या हमें एक्टिव रहना है. फ्रॉम द थिंकिंग, फ्रॉम द माइंड पर्सपेक्टिव, वी वांट टू बी इन अ थिंकिंग मोड. लाइक अगर जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू आर इन एनी स्पेसिफिक फेज ऑफ योर मेंस्ट्रुअल साइकिल, तो आप यू विल थिंक कि मुझे आपको पता चलेगा कि मुझे पेन हो रहा है, बट what in most cases what will you do is you will take a medicine and you will keep going. Matlab, rather than feeling what your body is telling you, you still want to be into that thinking mode, in that logical mode, in that linear mode. Now, linear and cyclical, I will talk a little later. This is the most important concept and the cream of this entire session. So this is precisely like हम लोग बहुत ज़्यादा अगर हमें simple form में समझना है, हम बहुत active oriented lifestyle में हैं आज के time में. Now, when it comes to any kind of health concerns, and specifically female concerns, when we say that specific diet can help, or specific yogic practice can help, or and any natural remedy can help, उससे भी बहुत पहले आता है कि क्या हम अपनी feminine energies को पहचान रहे हैं, क्या हम अपनी feminine needs को पहचान रहे हैं. अब हमारी feminine needs क्या हो सकती हैं, rather than being in that doing mode कि मुझे ये करते चले जाना है, या सुबह से मेरा दिन स्टार्ट होगा, I'll do this, I'll end my day, मैं सो जाऊंगी सुबह उठ के. So this is a cycle that we keep living. क्या हम कभी ऐसा करते हैं कि we are just being, like we are just being, मतलब कोई दिमाग में टेंशन नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है, we are just being who we are, या we are in a receiving mode, like just let it be वाले मोड में, या passive मोड में. बहुत नॉट दैट कि 100% लोगों के साथ ऐसा होता होगा, बट ये जो फेमिनिन क्वालिटीज हैं ये बहुत हमारे अंदर है, सब में है, बट हम इनको कैपिटलाइज नहीं करते हैं, जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ द प्रेशर्स ऑफ द मॉडर्न वर्ल्ड दैट वी आर फेसिंग इन टुडेज टाइम्स, एंड प्लस ऑल्सो लैक ऑफ अवेयरनेस. So now what happens is, when you are into that masculine energy mode, this is also the mode when your sympathetic nervous system is very high. So I guess since we all come from the yogic understanding, we do understand how important activation of parasympathetic nervous system is. So feminine energy का जो एक और adjective होता है, that is parasympathetic nervous system, which means if you are not doing and just letting yourself be, और आप एक कभी कभार आप passive mode में हो, या दिन का कुछ टाइम आप निकाल रहे हो जिसमें you made sure कि मैं कुछ नहीं करूंगी, या आप you are focusing on being creative, like of course आपका काम हो सकता है, you may be working, you may going out, but आप दिन का कुछ टाइम ऐसा निकाल रहे हो जो मैं सिर्फ अपना पैशन फॉलो करूंगी. So these are all activities which take you towards feminine energy, which connect you to your parasympathetic mode. Okay, so broadly this is the connectivity between divine energies. हम इन divine energies की बात क्यों कर रहे हैं वो मैं आपको आगे सेशन में as it progresses I'll let you know. So okay, so अभी जितनी हमारी menstrual problems आती हैं, not only menstrual problems, even health problems, there is a deep rooted connection between how we have lost connection with our feminine energies, simply because female body is designed to get into a parasympathetic mode when she is more high on feminine energy as compared to masculine energy. So this is a concept from Ayurveda as well as traditional Chinese medicine, and of course yoga का भी concept है ये, but yoga में of course it is a part of yoga, but the origin of this concept is majorly Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine, simply because when yoga happened it was not centered for female female practices. वो बाद में evolve होते होते females के लिए evolve हुआ था. So lack of जो feminine energy है उससे होता क्या है, ultimately हम masculine energy dominated world में जीते हैं. Then we start to suppress our feminine energy किस फॉर्म में, और हम ये कॉन्शियसली नहीं करते हैं, बट हमारी जो एक्टिविटीज या हमारा जो लाइफस्टाइल है वो ऑटोमेटिकली ऐसा बन जाता है जहां पर हम रेस्ट को इग्नोर करते हैं, जहां पर हमारी कोई मेंस्ट्रुअल प्रॉब्लम्स आई, वहां पर वी स्टार्ट टेकिंग कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव्स और पेन किलर्स. We are always high on activity, so we don't want to take rest. और हमारे लिए that time of the month is like कि I know that PMS is going to happen, और मुझे अपना मे बी फन गिव अप नहीं करना है, या मुझे अपना वर्क गिव अप नहीं करना है, या मुझे अपना रूटीन गिव अप नहीं करना है. सो वी रिलाई ऑन दीज पेन किलर्स एंड कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव्स. So that's suppression of feminine energy. आपकी बॉडी बाहर निकल के कुछ बोल रही है, आप उसको सप्रेस करते हो. Then feminine nature and wisdom lost over. और हमारी जितनी, और ये जो feminine energy की हम बात कर रहे हैं, ये हमारी कहाँ, where is it, where we have lost it? We have lost it over logic over intuition. Like आपकी बॉडी आपको बोल रही है कि मैं काम नहीं कर पा रही, that is your feeling, your intuition. और आपका लॉजिक, आपका माइंड आपको बोल रहा है कि पेन किलर ले लो और काम करते रहो. एंड दिस इज वन ऑफ द एग्जांपल्स, बट द सेम एग्जांपल अगर कॉन्शियसली आप सोचना शुरू करो, सॉरी, बहुत होता है कि हम लोग बहुत सारी चीजों में अपनी डे टू डे रूटीन में इस तरह की चॉइसेस करते हैं जहां पर हम इंट्यूशन को साइड करके लॉजिक पे जाते हैं. और वो लॉजिक इज मैस्कुलिन एनर्जी जो हमें पुश देता है कुछ करने का, इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ आवर बॉडी saying or telling us whether or not we can do it. Secondly, हमारा जो साइंटिफिक एविडेंस है, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल हार्मोन्स का एग्जांपल लेते हैं. साइंस ने हार्मोन्स के ऊपर दे काइंड ऑफ डन एम्पल रिसर्च, लाइक देयर इज नो एंड टू इट. नाउ इफ यू गेट लिटिल डीपर इनटू योगा, इनटू आयुर्वेदा एंड ट्रेडिशनल चाइनीज मेडिसिन, यू विल रियलाइज कि ये एंशिएंट साइंसेस में हार्मोन्स का कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं है, ठीक है, बट उनमें क्या कॉन्सेप्ट है, इंटर रिलेशनशिप का कॉन्सेप्ट है, सिनर्जीज का कॉन्सेप्ट है, व्हिच मींस इवन इफ these sciences did not break the concept of hormones picking कि आपकी बॉडी में कॉर्टिसोल है, आपकी बॉडी में एस्ट्रोजन है या प्रोजेस्टेरॉन है, they never talked about that. वो कॉन्सेप्ट है ही नहीं उसमें. स्टिल उनको पता था कि बॉडी में इंटर रिलेशनशिप्स कैसे काम करते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर ईस्ट्रोजन आपका से फॉर एग्जांपल लो है या ज्यादा है, तो कौन सा हार्मोन है जो उसके साथ में काम कर रहा है, कौन सा है जो उसको डिप्लीट करेगा, कौन सा है जो उसको अप करेगा, कौन सा है जो उसको बैलेंस करेगा. और वो बैलेंस, अब ये हार्मोन्स वी नो कि अपने आप से तो रिलीज होते नहीं है. ये हार्मोन्स तब रिलीज होते हैं जब हमारे ब्रेन को सिग्नल्स मिलते हैं, और ब्रेन, so it's like your menstruation starts in the brain before it starts in the body, because it's all that signaling going on in your brain के थ्रू जब वो सिग्नल्स आपकी बॉडी में पास होते हैं, तो वो सिग्नल्स ब्रेन में कहाँ से आते हैं, थ्रू योर सेंसेस, which means whatever you are taking in either through your senses or through your diet or through your lifestyle is going as a signal to your brain, being passed on to your master gland now telling these other glands to produce certain hormones in a specific way. And वहां से उनका interaction कैसे होगा, वो that happens basis कि कौन सा हार्मोन कहाँ पर कैसे रिलीज हो रहा है. सो ये जो कॉन्सेप्ट है, ये कॉन्सेप्ट बहुत डीपली आयुर्वेदिक लैंग्वेज में या ट्रेडिशनल चाइनीज मेडिसिन लैंग्वेज में बहुत डीपली इनकी इंटर रिलेशनशिप्स कवर्ड है, rather than understanding की only estrogen. So हम लोग आज के टाइम में क्या करते हैं, this is what we do, like जब हम कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव लेते हैं या हम कोई भी हार्मोनल थेरेपी लेते हैं, हमारा ओनली फोकस इज कि एस्ट्रोजन कम है तो एस्ट्रोजन की गोली, हार्मोनल मेडिकेशन ले लेते हैं जो which will fulfill the depletion that our body may be having. बट वो जो एस्ट्रोजन अंदर गया और वो अगर बढ़ गया बॉडी में, उसकी वजह से बाकी हार्मोन्स के ऊपर क्या इम्पैक्ट आएगा, इज समथिंग दैट इज a concept that is still not much talked about in modern understanding, as far as I know. I mean, I may be wrong there, but as jitna maine padha hai ya jitna meri understanding hai, we have a very strong focus on specific hormones and getting deeper into those hormones rather than understanding interrelationships of those hormones. So then हमारी feminine nature और कहाँ से lose होती है, linear scheduled life over creativity and flow. Now this is very important, as I said, this is the entire cream of the session. इसके बारे में मैं आगे जाके बात करूंगी जो हम cycles की बात करेंगे. Then head ruling over body's needs, again it's the same thing कि आपकी body आपको बोल रही है and it is telling you it cannot work more, it needs rest, and still you keep going and going and going. It does not necessarily mean कि आप अपने काम में चलते चले जाते हो. It could be as simple as जहां पर आपका choice भी है, say for example somebody gymming, like I'm taking this example क्योंकि मेरी practice में बहुत सारे clients मैंने ऐसे देखे जो weight lose करने के लिए 2 घंटे 3 घंटे continuously they would not mind, they will keep gymming continuously, और वेट कहीं इधर से उधर नहीं हुआ उनका. Now, it's important to understand again what is the relationship going on between these hormones for everything that you do, because बॉडी में जितनी कम्युनिकेशन चल रही है वो हॉर्मोन्स के सिग्नलिंग से चल रही है. हमारे हाथ में कुछ नहीं है, हम सिर्फ एक बेस क्रिएट कर सकते हैं सो दैट द हार्मोन सिग्नलिंग गोज राइट, दैट्स इट. वो अंदर जाके क्या प्रोड्यूस होगा डायरेक्टली वी डोंट हैव दैट कंट्रोल. So when your head rules, when say for example you have a sweet tooth, या आपको junk food खाने का बहुत you're fond of it, और आप बहुत easy mode में चलते हो कि let it be, ठीक है एक लाइफ है मेरे को जीना है, like this is the mentality that a lot of people have. So that's okay, मतलब कुछ नहीं होगा. Now this is your head ruling, your heart telling you कि just do whatever you want to do because you have all the control, but we don't have all the control. So जब आप अपने हेड को रूल करने देते हो without listening to what your body is telling you is where you are losing your feminine nature, because your femininity is also your intuition. आपकी your body does not lie, your brain can lie, your logics can lie, but अगर आपकी बॉडी में दर्द है तो है, वो झूठ नहीं बोलेगी, राइट? सो यू हैव टू start to relate to what your body wants or is telling, and then आपका feminine nature also gets loaded by all that stress, anxiety, overwhelming feelings, chronic stress or depression that a woman goes through knowingly or unknowingly. So ये सब चीजें जब मिलती हैं, डाइट और लाइफस्टाइल तो बहुत बाद में आता है, बट बेस कहाँ से शुरू होता है is what I'm trying to cover up here. And then we have lost touch with our cyclic nature. Again, as I said, this is the cream of the entire session, so we'll take it forward. Okay, so now let's see कि menstruation जो है ancient times में what was the purpose of it, और कैसे मतलब कैसे डिस्क्राइब किया गया हमारी वैदिक साइंसेस में भी कि मेंस्ट्रुएशन को कैसे देखना चाहिए. So anciently menstruation was seen as a sacred time, or this was also the time, like अगर आप if you get into all that deep Vedic studies or Ayurveda studies, you will realize कि it is also mentioned that menstruation is the time when they say that आपका intuition is at its peak level. So it's also the time when आपको अंदर से पता होता है what is right and what is not right. So it is also a time for your self renewal, जहाँ पर you can self reflect and internally you can change yourself. So this time gives you that window. In Vedic cultures or rather in Native American tribes में भी menstruation के time पे women को tribes से separate कर दिया जाता था, और they used to stay in a hut or tents, and they were given a break from their usual duties. When we say usual duties, the whole idea was it was not a point of कि उनको punish करना है for that, but the whole idea was उनको tribe से अलग करने का purpose was that this is the time that they need rest and they should be given proper rest. So they उनके लिए एक अलग से tents और huts का concept होता था where the menstruating women used to kind of stay. So this was about how anciently कैसे हम इसको देखते थे. Now ideally जो भी हमारे throughout the history menstruation की जो भी history रही हो, but अगर हम again if we look at the ancient sciences from the Vedic perspective, it was always seen as a very sacred science, a sacred phase of a woman's life where women were more connected to higher consciousness. We've just discussed that. और जब वैदिक साइंसेस में हम अगर थोड़ा आगे चले जाएं आयुर्वेदा की तरफ, तो आयुर्वेदा इसको प्रैक्टिकल सेंस में देखता है. देन सो आयुर्वेदा सेज दैट जब भी ऑन दिस यूनिवर्स कोई भी चीज जो साफ है, चाहे वो आपकी बॉडी है, चाहे वो आपका घर है, चाहे वो आपका एनवायरमेंट है, अगर वो साफ है तो वो मोस्ट प्योर है. अगर वो मोस्ट प्योर है तो उसके पास पावर है यूनिवर्सल नेचुरल एनर्जीज को अट्रैक्ट करने की. सो इफ वी हैव टॉक्सिक बॉडी, लाइक इन आयुर्वेदा menstruation is seen as the time when the women are detoxifying themselves, जहाँ पर ama, which is the toxic matter or the undigested matter in the body, that is releasing on its own, which means by nature women have been designed in a way, and thankfully designed in a way, जहाँ पर हर महीने हमें 4 या 5 दिन ऐसे नेचर ने प्रोवाइड किए हैं जहाँ पर we have the power to detoxify ourselves without making any effort. So it is happening automatically, but that detoxification will happen right only if हमारा वो जो 4 cycles की 4 phases की हम बात कर रहे हैं उसमें आप सही से जीना सीखोगे तब. And also realizing that getting over masculine energies and starting to connect to your feminine energies, you automatically start to create that sync with the nature, or automatically आप उस cycle में fit होते चले जाते हो. So this is the time. So Ayurveda says that this is also the time that women should be excused from their daily duties because their consciousness is higher and they have the all that power to reflect inwards and feel and slow down and be spiritually more connected. So अगर इस concept को अगर हम आज के time में देखें, like for it could be anybody, for ourselves also, for our daughters, for any female like in our circle, menstruation के time पे rest अगर आप किसी को बोल दोगे तो it is seen as a sign of weakness कि पता नहीं क्या हो गया वाला एक attitude आ जाता है. While rest during menstruation was the need since time immemorial. आप किसी भी ancient culture में चले जाओ, that is what has been spoken about menstruation in the ancient sciences all the time. So what they say is that this is the time जहाँ पर आप you are automatically more aware what's going on in your body, or you learn to live in harmony with your own different phases of female cycle. So what are these female cycles is what we will be discussing later. So if you understand what these 4 cycles are, if you understand that this time is the time, come what may, you have to make your choices. You have to say no if you have a party coming up. You have to learn to say, you have to learn to listen to yourself even if the most attractive opportunity is in front of you. So either you choose yourself or you choose something which is very momentary, and then keep living that way of life, and ultimately start creating a lot of health problems for yourself in future. So this is how it all builds up. Okay, so now let's first understand कि healthy menstruation होता क्या है. Okay, so healthy menstruation cycle अगर आप modern sense में भी देखोगे या anciently भी जाओगे, it is a part of all females on this planet, which means कोई भी ऐसी चीज जो कि एक normal lifestyle का part है आपके, और हर महीने मतलब 4-5 दिन आपको you have to live it throughout your life, like almost like major years of your life. तो वो एटलीस्ट वो पेनफुल नहीं होना चाहिए. मतलब नेचर नेवर इंटेंडेड अस टू बी सिक और फील पेन और लिव अ वे जहां पर हमें मे बी मंथ के कुछ डेज वी हैव टू लिव लाइक दैट. सो हेल्दी मेंस्ट्रुएशन इज रिफ्लेक्शन ऑफ योर ओवरऑल हेल्थ. अगर हेल्दी मेंस्ट्रुएशन है तो यू जस्ट लिव इट थ्रू इट वेरी स्मूथली by following the regulations which are required to be experienced in 4 different phases that we'll be talking about. Apart from that, healthy menstruation lasts for 3 to 6 days. It is a cycle from somewhere around 25 to 35 days, because each woman has a different cycle of ovulation, so that cycle can vary, but 25 to 35 days on an average is considered normal. But as each woman is different, so ये 35 to 40 भी जाता है आज के टाइम में. So that's perfectly okay. It only means कि आप ovulate थोड़ा लेट कर रहे हो. But अगर आपका 40 days का cycle regular है, then also it is like okay, अगर आपकी वो regularity बनी हुई है तो. And then your blood quality should be clear, like आपके clotting नहीं होनी चाहिए, आपका dark blood नहीं आना चाहिए. Dark blood is the stagnated blood, which is like जो जमा हुआ था वो clear हो रहा है, which is not good, because if the body has stagnation is where a lot of blockages happen, is where your prana gets blocked. So blood quality which is clear, which is as clear or pure as pure blood is a healthy menstruation. And the blood flow should go from light, matlab starting light, and then it moves on a heavier cycle and then gradually lightens. बहुत सारी फीमेल्स के केस में ये साइकिल ऊपर नीचे होता है, जैसे स्टार्ट होगा स्पॉटिंग से, फिर एकदम हैवी, फिर रुक जाना, फिर हैवी चले जाना. अगर ऐसा कुछ पैटर्न आ रहा है, then it is not considered healthy menstruation. This is also a sign of stagnation in the body. And during menstruation, it is normal to have less energy. We should not be thinking much about it, rather than thinking कि मेरी एनर्जी नीचे हो रही है और मैं कुछ medication ले लूं to keep going. Then you are going anti your menstrual needs, because there is a reason why your energy is low. One, you are losing blood. Secondly, also because आपके hormones में change आ रहा है और वो hormones dip कर रहे हैं जो आपको energy, जो females में energy और आपको peak पे रखने में help करते हैं. Sorry, I have a little sore throat today, so just bear with me. Okay. So and apart from that, healthy menstruation के time पे there should be no pain. Usually a week before menstruation, there can be some mood swings, which is also perfectly okay. और वो ओके इसलिए है क्योंकि नॉट दैट कि मेंस्ट्रुएशन टाइम पे आपको मूड स्विंग्स आते हैं, वो मूड स्विंग्स आपके हमेशा से थे, सिर्फ मेंस्ट्रुएशन के टाइम पे क्योंकि हार्मोन्स हमारे ऊपर जाते हैं, जिसकी वजह से वो इमोशंस को भी एम्पलीफाई कर देते हैं. सो दैट्स द रीजन मूड स्विंग्स मे हैपन, व्हिच मींस it is not wise to consider कि मुझे इमोशनल imbalances आते हैं menstruation के टाइम पे. With good meditative practices and breathing practices, you can also start to control these emotional imbalances that happen during or before menstruation. And then cramps, heavy bleeding, clotting, or not bleeding at all are also not normal. So it all indicates imbalances. So precisely आज के टाइम में जितनी health conditions related है हमारे menstruation से related, चाहे वो PMS है या even if it is not menstruation, if it is other reproductive concerns like PCOD or PCOS or infertility, all of these concerns, इनका जो root है is somewhere building in too much of masculinity, in too much of that active energy where we are not focusing on rest and relaxation much. So okay, so now what is unhealthy menstruation? Pain, cramps hona is unhealthy. Dark blood hona is unhealthy. Clotting is unhealthy. PMS, like now this is one area that I really want to talk about. A lot of us accept PMS as is, like कि a lot of females will say कि मुझे PMS होता है and that's it, the end. मतलब what are you doing about it? Nothing, because nothing can be done because PMS तो मुझे होता ही है. But accepting PMS is your choice. It is not normal. So when you start working on aligning yourself with the 4 phases, you will automatically see your PMS symptoms will start to gradually reduce. And then heavy periods or no periods at all, again it's unhealthy menstruation. So the whole idea is we have to learn to listen to the body signals instead of suppressing or ignoring them or taking pain medication or synthetic hormones. We should be aligning our diet and lifestyle in a way where just give me a second, I guess there is something wrong. Okay, yeah. So we should be ideally looking at our diet and lifestyle first. We should be looking, are we living more active lifestyle? We should be looking what is the scope of relaxation that we have in our daily life. जब आपने वो सब चीजें कर ली, उसके बाद आपको लग रहा है कि now my things are not improving, is where then you need medication. So this is the approach that you should be following ideally. Okay. So where is the problem of faulty menstruation cycle actually coming from? Now let's get to the root. You know, हमने root की बात करी, which is masculine and feminine energy, masculine energy का dominance और feminine energy going low, but उसके बाद उसके नीचे क्या build up होता चला जाता है. So now when your masculine energy is high, you are always in a sympathetic mode. Sympathetic mode का मतलब, again coming from yoga, I don't think I'll get much deeper into explaining what sympathetic mode is, but the whole idea is agar aap sympathetic mode mein ho, in that case your stress hormones are always up, and that does not necessarily mean कि आपको stress के time पे ही वो stress hormones आएंगे. अगर आप too much activity कर रहे हो, अगर आपको stage पे जाके से for example speech देनी है, अगर आपको every few minutes आपको पता है there is somebody going to be on the door, आपको जाके दरवाजा खोलना है, आपको active mode में रहना है सारा time, then also some part of these stress hormones are a part of you. So the very first thing is we need to understand कि stress hormones does not necessarily only mean कि जब actual stress आएगा तभी stress hormones release हो रहे हैं. Right from starting your day in the morning, जब आप bed से jump out करते ही अपने कामों में लग जाते हो, that is also stress mode. उसके बाद through the day, if you don't rest, if you keep doing one thing after the other, like taking care of your household responsibilities, getting on to your work, and then coming back, doing some kitchen work or spending time with the kids, and then sleep. If that is your entire routine, say there is a possibility कि इसमें कुछ भी ऐसा आपको ना लगे कि ये मेरे लिए stress नहीं है, ये मेरी daily routine है. But क्योंकि आपकी body एक active mode में है सारा time, that means it is high on sympathetic mode. When it is high on sympathetic mode, it is high on stress hormones. When it is high on stress hormones, it is low on feminine energies. So to bring up your feminine energies, you have to push up your parasympathetic mode, which is rest, relaxation, creativity, and all those things that we discussed initially. Okay, so now अब इसके नीचे अगर हम देखें ये प्रॉब्लम मेंस्ट्रुएशन साइकिल में कहाँ से आती हैं, The very first thing is going against the needs of cyclic existence. Kuch part we've already discussed, kuch you will get clear when we talk of the 4 phases. Then हमारे जो beliefs हैं, now this is coming from the ideology जो हमने देखा कि हमारे एंसेस्टर्स के टाइम पे हमें जिस तरीके से ग्रूम किया गया, हमारे एंसेस्टर्स को जिस तरीके से मेंस्ट्रुएशन के लिए ग्रूम किया गया, और वही जनरेशंस में चला आता जाता है जब तक कि कोई जनरेशन में जाके उसको चेंज नहीं करता, या कोई आउटस्पोकन नहीं होता उसके बारे में, या कोई कॉन्शियसली एक्शन नहीं लेता, तब तक वो जनरेशंस में चलता चला जाता है. एंड देन स्ट्रेस, ऑफ कोर्स वी हैव डिस्कस्ड. एटीट्यूड ऑफ इग्नोरेंस, जो कि हमारा आज का एटीट्यूड है, वेयर हमारी बॉडी इज टेलिंग अस टेक सम रेस्ट, एंड आवर माइंड इज टेलिंग अस टेक अ पिल एंड कीप गोइंग. And living in a fast-paced life, this is completely a choice. For example, I'll give you an example. Like one of my clients, very fond of late nights, and then she reached out to me for a diet consultation. And frankly, I denied her the consultation simply because I asked her, can you give up your nighttime जो आपका वो routine है? I'm not saying that you give it up forever, but if you want to continue with, if you want to see changes in your body, you really have to bring it back to the feminine energy mode, to the parasympathetic mode. और ये नहीं होगा जब तक आप अपने आप को अलाइन नहीं करोगे फेमिनिन एनर्जी से. फेमिनिन एनर्जी से अलाइन करने का मतलब ये भी है कि आप टाइम से सोगे और टाइम से उठोगे. इफ यू से दैट आई कैन नॉट गिव अप माय नाइट टाइम पार्टीज, आई कैन नॉट गिव अप अल्कोहल, आई कैन नॉट गिव अप फास्ट फूड, मेरा दिन का शाम का टाइम तो पार्टीज में ही निकलता है, एंड स्टिल आई वांट टू लूज वेट, देन आई एम सॉरी, आई एम नॉट द राइट पर्सन फॉर यू. सो द होल आइडिया इज कि द सॉल्यूशन डज नॉट लाई इन अ क्विक फिक्स. यू हैव टू लर्न टू से नो व्हेन इट इज अबाउट योर बॉडी एंड माइंड. तो आप अगर ऐसा नहीं करोगे in your 20s and 30s, तो आप जीते चले जाओगे, like because your hormones are supporting. Anyways, you are high on reproductive capacity, your reproductive hormones are up. As soon as you start to hit your late 30s and 40s, you will realize कि 20s 30s में जो किया था उसका जो पूरा baggage है will be thrown back on you. So, and it is a very very real situation. I mean, I did not realize until I got into that phase and age. But I can tell you, like, since I was aware, now I know what to do. But a lot of women who don't know about it, what are they doing? They are still keeping to continue to add on to जो अभी जितना पीछे बैकलॉग इकट्ठा हो गया है स्ट्रेस का बॉडी में, या टॉक्सिन्स का बॉडी में, या इग्नोरेंस का, उस पे ही उसी पाथ पे आप चलते चले जा रहे हो. एंड that starts to create imbalances. वो imbalances करते 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 सिर्फ menstrual imbalances नहीं बनेंगे, वो आपके health imbalances भी बनेंगे, आपके maybe infertility बनेंगे, maybe diabetes बनेंगे, maybe arthritis बनेंगे, maybe, and there's no end to it. So it's a life cycle. It doesn't happen in a day. And then the third reason is we are handling too many roles, mother, wife, working women, or maybe like बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो हम दिन में कर रहे हैं. And I understand it is the need of the hour. We cannot skip it, और कईयों के पास वो scope भी नहीं होगा. But of any day, what we can do is we can learn to change our attitude towards it. And this is what I think yoga teaches us. आप situations change नहीं कर सकते, but आप अपना attitude या अपना पर्सपेक्टिव जो है वो स्ट्रेसर्स की तरफ चेंज कर सकते हो. सो दिस इज वेयर एक्चुअली वी नीड टू स्टार्ट टू सी द सिनर्जी की व्हाट इज इट दैट वी कैन डू, जो हम नहीं कर सकते. नॉट डूइंग एनीथिंग जस्ट बिकॉज वी कैन नॉट डू सर्टेन थिंग्स अबाउट योर सिचुएशंस. इट इज बेटर टू सी कि क्या मैं अपना रिएक्शन चेंज कर सकती हूँ, क्या मैं अपनी डाइट और लाइफस्टाइल चेंज कर सकती हूँ, क्या मैं कुछ चीजों पे नो बोलना सीख सकती हूँ, क्या मैं कैन आई स्टार्ट टू लर्न टू कनेक्ट विद माय ओन सेल्फ. बिलीव मी, दिस इज वेयर द हीलिंग ऑफ एनी काइंड ऑफ health condition will start to happen. So this is where we actually start to need to go back to. And then suppression of feminine energy हम बात कर चुके हैं. हमारी creativity, ये बहुत relevant example है. I would rather want to talk about this also. Like rather I'll take my example only. Like before getting into wellness domain, I was into IT. For 11 years I was an IT professional, or I was at the peak of my career with a amazing pay package and everything. And कोई ऐसा stress भी नहीं था. Like I was managing my kids, and there was full support from my company. मतलब there was nothing that I would complain about my job or my company, but I was empty inside. Why? Because since childhood I was a very very creative person. मतलब मुझे like creative चीजें करने का बहुत शौक था. और वो creativity किसी भी चीज में आ सकती है. वो creativity आपकी cooking में आ सकती है, वो gardening में आ सकती है, वो आपने कुछ पढ़ा उसका आपने कुछ का कुछ बनाया, वो best out of waste आपने कुछ बनाया, या just transforming something into something which actually gives you that happiness and peace of mind. So वो जो क्रिएटिव नेचर है मैं उसको नरिश नहीं कर रही थी. आई वॉज कम्प्लीटली इनटू दैट मैस्कुलिन मोड जहां पर मैं 9 to 5 जॉब में. सो दिस इज व्हाट लिनियर पैटर्न इज लाइक. इफ यू रिमेंबर इनिशियली हमने पढ़ा था, वी जस्ट ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड लिनियर एंड साइक्लिक पैटर्न. सो द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ our generation of females today is that we are living a linear pattern. We are living a 9 to 5 pattern without realizing कि वो 9 to 5 pattern आपके week 1 में तो आपके लिए सूट कर जाएगा, बट week 2 में हो सकता है आपको सूट ना करे क्योंकि आपके हार्मोन्स चेंज हो रहे हैं बिकॉज यू आर नियरिंग योर साइकिल. और week 3 में तो हो सकता है बिल्कुल सूट ना करें, तो तब आप क्या करोगे? week 3 में क्योंकि आपको सूट नहीं कर रहे हैं, आप यू आर लिविंग दैट लिनियर पैटर्न ओनली, और उसको जीते चले जाने के लिए आप मेडिकेशन ले लोगे, राइट? सो यहाँ पर you're giving up your cyclic, you're not understanding the cyclic nature that women have been blessed with, and this is with women all across the world since beginning. And that's why Ayurveda is so powerful. That's why these ancient sciences are so powerful, because they don't look at one-sided solution. They look at कि आपकी need क्या है, like from all aspects, what is it that you should be doing ताकि आगे जाके problem बने ही नहीं. And then आपकी nurturing is so when we say nurturing, it could be nurturing in any form. It could be nurturing through your foods, it could be nurturing through emotional needs, it could be nurturing through self-care, whatever. Like nurturing is a common term, but that can apply to anything that applies to you. So for example, you do a oil massage someday, like say on a Sunday, so that is nurturing for you, and that is very feminine energy. So अगर आप बहुत active हो तो आपने अगर ऑयल मसाज करा, आपने अपने आप को फेमिनिन एनर्जी का एक एस्पेक्ट दिया, which will automatically bring down your stress. जैसे स्ट्रेस नीचे आएगा, आपके reproductive hormones automatically will start to get balanced. And then हमारा जो flowing versus linear life structure, flowing. So this what do we mean by flowing life structure? Which means when we are in tune with what's going on in our body. Like for some example, आप बहुत रेगुलर जिमिंग करते हो, आपको यू स्लेप्ट टुडे एंड यू आर नॉट फीलिंग वेल, आपको पता है कि आपका साइकिल इज अबाउट टू हैपन मे बी अनदर 3-4 days, और आपको पीएमएस स्टार्ट हो चुका है, बट आपको वेट भी लूज करना है, और आप नेक्स्ट मॉर्निंग उठोगे, आप बोलोगे ओके मुझे तो जिम जाना है, और अभी तो साइकिल में देयर आर अनदर 3-4 days. योर बॉडी इज टेलिंग यू दैट आई कैन नॉट गो, बट यू डोंट लिसन टू इट एंड यू से नो आई हैव टू गो. सो दिस इज द लिनियर स्ट्रक्चर. मतलब आपने एक वो था ना, ओनली लुकिंग एट ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट, नॉट लुकिंग एट द ग्रेज. तो क्योंकि मुझे 5 बजे जाना है तो मुझे जाना ही है, विदाउट रियलाइजिंग व्हाट माय बॉडी इज टेलिंग, व्हाट इज द नीड ऑफ माय बॉडी राइट नाउ. वर्सेस फ्लोइंग, व्हिच मींस कि आप जिम जाते हो, वेरी गुड, और या आप योगा, एग्रेसिव योगा, पावर योगा करते हो, वेरी वेरी गुड, बट साइकिल से 2 दिन पहले आपको लग रहा है कि नहीं मैं आज नहीं कर पाऊंगी, तो आपने बोला ओके आई विल नॉट डू एग्रेसिव फॉर्म, let me just do meditation today. Not that I will not do anything, but let me just do some yin yoga practice today, or let me just do some breath work today. तो मैं उतना करूंगी जो मेरी बॉडी को इस टाइम पीरियड में और इस फेज में सपोर्ट करे, rather than मेरे अगेंस्ट जाए. So flowing is being connected with the flow of how your body is flowing through the month. Linear means कि 9 to 5 pattern. And then suppression of feminine energy also happens because of a lot of logic that we bring into it. A lot of logic actually comes from what scientific studies we keep reading about. Of course these are very very valid, but the problem is कि ये वो जो validation of science है वो हर इंसान ने अपनी लाइफ में लगाना शुरू कर दिया है. It is not for everybody, and that's the reason हम too much of logic में जाने की वजह से we have lost our connection with our intuition. Our body is telling us something, but हम उसको नहीं सुनेंगे क्योंकि साइंस में मैंने कहीं पढ़ा था, ये कहीं पर प्रूवन है, तो हम उसको पढ़ेंगे. So you know that is the lost connect that's happening. फिर आता है रोल फूड्स का. Like this is where actually, so if you say कि मुझे अपने menstruation problems के लिए या कुछ भी फीमेल problems के लिए foods is my only solution, तो believe me आपके 4 pointers जब तक ऊपर के sorted नहीं है तब तक foods आपके लिए बहुत ज्यादा कुछ नहीं करेंगे. And that has been my research experience and practice of last 10 years into understanding कि this is the hierarchy, that's how it happens. Like जब तक आप सिर्फ foods पे करते जाओगे, of course foods आपको एक level तक जरूर लेके जाएंगे, but you say कि पूरा reversal हो जाएगा, no. It is only when you start to bring your body back into that phase of relaxation. So let me just now summarize this feminine energy to this concept of relaxation, which was also the topic of our session today. So feminine energy का एक aspect is also relaxation. So having said that, not that कि मुझे फिर योगा करनी ही नहीं चाहिए, मुझे activity form करनी ही नहीं चाहिए. No, it doesn't mean that. What it means is कि are you maintaining balance between activity and rest? And when I say rest, I do not mean sleep, because sleep में भी आप active हो सकते हो. बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो सोते हैं but वो नहीं सोते हैं, right? So your sleep क्वालिटी विल डिपेंड कि आपने एक्चुअली रिलैक्स किया कि नहीं किया. अगर आपने पूरी रात ड्रीम्स में निकाली तो आपने रिलैक्स नहीं किया, आप सिर्फ सोए, आपने रिलैक्स नहीं किया. सो देन कम्स फूड्स, और फूड्स में क्या होना चाहिए दैट आई विल टॉक लेटर. And then lifestyle, of course, which I'll talk again later as we talk of the phases. And exposure to toxins very important. मैं बहुत ज्यादा डिटेल में नहीं जाऊंगी इस पार्ट में, बट ये एक बहुत 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 बड़ा रीजन है आज के टाइम में फीमेल प्रॉब्लम्स बढ़ने का. मेजर रीजन, lot of toxins coming in from our foods, and specifically the culture of eating out. Even if we are not eating out, a lot of foods which are coming in the packaged form in our home, like कुछ sorry रेडीमेड फूड्स हो गए, या रेडीमेड नहीं भी हो. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आपने चीला बनाया तो आपने सॉस आपकी बाहर से आ रही है फॉर एग्जांपल, या आपका मूड नहीं है तो आपने मैगी बना लिया. एंड दीज आर सम कॉमन फूड्स. आई एम नेमिंग दीज बिकॉज़ दीज आर वेरी कॉमन फूड्स यूज्ड एट एवरीबॉडीज होम. या आपके घर में बिस्किट्स का स्टॉक रहता है, या आपके घर में ब्रेड रोज आती है, आपका ब्रेकफास्ट ब्रेड की फॉर्म में ही रहता है. नाउ ऑल दीज फूड्स व्हिच आर लेबोरेटरी मेड do not have the power to sustain on their own. They have to be mixed with certain elements to keep them going for a longer shelf life. And this is where our body is getting exposure to a lot of toxins. Even if हमें लगता है कि हम healthy खा रहे हैं, but उस healthy का source कहाँ से आ रहा है will depend कि आपकी body कितने toxins से expose हो रही है. Now ये toxins तो हम foods की बात कर रहे हैं, but ये toxins आपके और कहाँ से आ रहे हैं? ये आपके toxins also are coming. I would want to mention this. Aluminium foils. How many of us use aluminium foils to pack tiffins? And specifically I'm mentioning aluminium foils क्योंकि a lot of women are working and you know lunch हर किसी का pack होता है generally. So अगर आप aluminium foil use कर रहे हो, that aluminium foil has those nanoparticles which get absorbed into the food, and when you're consuming it, these are metallic particles, and there is a lot of females are going through a lot of metallic toxicity through all these metallic particles entering our body, coming in from all these sources जो कि metallic exposed है, like aluminum foil, like हमारा environment, like lead pollution. I mean, if you get into the environment, there's a lot, there could be a lot of lead particles in the environment. Of course, हम उस environment का कुछ नहीं कर सकते, but that is where yoga comes to our respite. जल नीति is a very good practice. आपने जितना breath करते हो, जितने toxins आप अपने nose के through hold करते हो, उनको साथ के साथ you can just keep pushing them out through practices like Jal Neti or these Shatkarma practices mentioned in yogic philosophy. So that's the second part. The third part is the kind of products that you're using. अगर आपके skin care products आप mindlessly कुछ भी उठा के use करते हो, specifically high on SLS, sulfates, parabens, ये तो कुछ common names हैं, but since I have my own skincare brand and we are into this for last 10 years, I can tell you jitna, like when we researched and we launched our own skincare range, and I mean this industry is crazy. Like mera apna brand hai, still I'm talking about it. It's like it's crazy. I mean you cannot even imagine kitna toxin bhar ke hamari body mein ja raha hai with these products. Only if your products are you know the ones that you're using are very close to the nature is where you're supporting your body. But if they are filled with all those chemicals that I'm talking about, like parabens, sulfates, even petroleum, SLS, abhi mujhe aur naam yaad nahi aa rahe hain, but like if you just try to Google and figure out toxins and skincare products, you'll realize kitna, like you know our body is, अगर हम फूड्स में पूरा ध्यान दे रहे हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल लाइफस्टाइल में पूरा ध्यान दे रहे हैं, और अगर हम प्रोडक्ट्स क्या यूज कर रहे हैं उन पे ध्यान नहीं दे रहे हैं, स्किन केयर पे, योर स्किन इज अब्सॉर्बिंग ऑल ऑफ इट, एवरीथिंग इज गोइंग इन. एंड द वर्स्ट पार्ट इज स्किन केयर के जितने केमिकल्स हैं उनमें से मोस्ट ऑफ इट आर xenoestrogens. And now I don't know how many of you are aware of xenoestrogens. Xenoestrogens are artificial estrogens that mimic the activity of estrogen inside the body, which means जब ये केमिकल्स बॉडी में जाते हैं, ब्लड में मिक्स होते हैं, तो ये जो हमारा नेचुरल एस्ट्रोजन है उसकी कॉपी करते हैं. तो हमारी बॉडी को वो कंफ्यूज कर देते हैं. हमारी बॉडी कंसिडर्स दैट एस्ट्रोजन आल्सो एज इट्स ओन एस्ट्रोजन. दैट लीड्स टू अ कंडीशन कॉल्ड एस्ट्रोजन डोमिनेंस. Estrogen dominance is related to n number of health conditions in women, including all these reproductive health concerns. That's altogether a different topic. मैं उसमें नहीं जाऊंगी, but just to give you some awareness on that, I just wanted to talk about that. And then, so the whole idea is, again coming back to our topic, कि अगर हम menstruation की बात कर रहे हैं या समझने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, not even me, like now that I've started learning and more understanding about it, I've realized this, but over years none of us has ever realized कि हमारा menstrual cycle क्या message लेके आ रहा है और through the month हमें क्या बता रहा है कि how should our lifestyle or diet be, so that we keep supporting that cycle and so that the cycle happens smoothly. वो cycle smooth सिर्फ उन 4 दिन में नहीं होगा, आपको पूरा महीना you have to first know and understand what's going on and start to live by that life, so that those 5 days happen really peacefully and smooth for you. So which again means a lifestyle. Okay, so now the most important piece of information that we are missing when it comes to any kind of healing for female concerns is we are cyclic beings, both men and women. आपको ये समझ में आ जाएगा जब मैं आगे बात करूंगी. Cyclical beings का मतलब है कि हमारी week by week needs change हो रही हैं because our hormones are changing. How are these hormones changing is the 4 phases that we'll be talking about. So this is from the monthly cycle of women. This is also called the lunar cycle or the monthly cycle, moon cycle also we call it. And then look at the seasons of the year. मतलब हमारे अगर आप आयुर्वेद में आप डीपली जाओगे तो ये जो साइकिल्स का जो कॉन्सेप्ट है ये आयुर्वेद में भी बहुत डीपली कवर्ड है. लाइक ऋतुचर्या का जो कॉन्सेप्ट इज नथिंग बट द साइकिल्स चेंजिंग इन द नेचर, देन द साइकिल्स चेंजिंग एज पर द डे एंड नाइट. सो अगर दिन हो रही है तो देयर इज सम पर्पस व्हाई डे इज हैपनिंग, देयर इज सम पर्पस व्हाई नाइट इज हैपनिंग. तो हमने जो पूरा अपना लाइफस्टाइल इस तरीके से ओरिएंट कर दिया है कि हमारे लिए डे भी नाइट है और नाइट भी डे है, तो हमारी बॉडी की पूरी फंक्शनैलिटी हैज गॉन अपसाइड डाउन. एंड दिस इज आल्सो डायरेक्टली रिलेटेड टू हार्मोन्स. When you wake up in the morning, daytime, there are certain hormones that hit your brain that tell you that it is the time to go active, and it's actually certain hormones that make you active to get out of your bed. When you go to sleep at night, रात में आपको अगर आपका साइकिल है 9 बजे या 10 बजे आपको नींद आने का, तो वो क्यों है? क्योंकि आपका पैटर्न बॉडी में इस तरीके से सेट है, आप इतना अलाइंड हो नेचर के साथ कि नेचर को पता है कि 9-10 बजे के आसपास आपकी बॉडी में ऑटोमेटिकली वो हार्मोन प्रोड्यूस होना शुरू हो जाएगा. एंड वो ऑटोमेटिकली नहीं होता है वैसे, दैट इज बेसिकली व्हेन योर बॉडी सेंसेस डार्कनेस. सो व्हिच मींस अगर आप रात के टाइम पे बहुत ब्राइट लाइट्स में हो, और इफ यू हैव दिस हाउस व्हिच इज ऑल फुल ऑफ ब्राइट लाइट्स, आप हर तरफ लाइट्स जला के रखते हो, डिम नहीं रखते हो रात में लाइट्स, यू आर bringing down that specific hormone which makes you go to sleep at night. That's why a lot of women also complain कि मुझे रात में नींद नहीं आती है. If that is the case with you, please the very first thing that you need to check is कि आपके घर में lights बहुत bright हैं रात के time पे. So and then when I was doing this PPT, I also came across some research where they mentioned that there has been some correlation found between bright lights at night and women facing challenges in their menstruation cycle. So which means कि आपका जो हार्मोन जो हिट होता है ब्राइट लाइट से रात के टाइम पे, उसी तरीके से आपके जो रिप्रोडक्टिव हार्मोन्स हैं वो भी किसी लेवल पर हिट होते हैं with bright lights at night, or if you don't sleep at night in time. So which means अगर आपका sleep cycle good नहीं है तो do whatever, have the best exercising regime, keep gymming 3 hours a day, have the best diet on earth. But अगर आपने sleep को regulate नहीं किया, do whatever, things will not improve, क्योंकि as I said आपके हाथ में कुछ नहीं है. Foods तो बाहर का एक जरिया है, ठीक है, या आपका लाइफस्टाइल एक बाहर का जरिया है. जो काम कर रहा है वो अंदर हार्मोन कर रहा है. जब तक आप हार्मोन को रेगुलेट करने के उसके सोर्सेज नहीं दोगे, तब तक वॉट एवर फ्रॉम द आउटसाइड इज गोइंग इज ऑफ नो यूज इनसाइड द बॉडी. सो अल्टीमेटली द किंग इज द हार्मोन. एंड और वो द आयरनी बोल लो या हमारा बैड लक बोल लो, दीज हार्मोन्स आर नॉट इन आवर कंट्रोल. ये नेचर ने हमें एक तरीके से काम करने के लिए ही दिए हैं, वो अपने तरीके से ही काम करते हैं. अगर हम उनके तरीके से नहीं चलेंगे या वी डोंट प्रोवाइड द राइट एनवायरनमेंट फॉर दोस हार्मोन्स टू वर्क राइट, अल्टीमेटली इज वेयर ऑल दीज इम्बैलेंसेस स्टार्ट टू हैपन. ओके, नाउ सो फॉर द वुमेन, तो ये जो 3 साइकिल्स वाला जो कॉन्सेप्ट है ये तो सबके लिए अप्लाई होता है, मेन के लिए भी और वुमेन के लिए भी, चाहे वो सीजन्स का साइकिल है, चाहे वो मून डे और नाइट का साइकिल है. बट फीमेल्स के लिए एक और साइकिल बहुत इंपॉर्टेंटली अप्लाई होता है, that is the monthly cycle, which is the menstruation cycle that we're talking about, which is nothing but rise of certain hormones, maturity of certain hormones, because of which some action happens, then the flow happens, and the downfall of those hormones, and the cycle goes on month by month. So एक फीमेल का जो menstruation का cycle है और बॉडी में जो चेंजेस आ रहे हैं उसका साइकिल लिनियर नहीं है, इट इज नॉट स्ट्रेट, एंड दिस इज वेयर वी आर गोइंग रॉन्ग. वी आर लिविंग अ स्ट्रेट लाइफ, इट इज लाइक दिस अपसाइड डाउन, एंड वी नीड टू लर्न कि जब वो पीक पे है तो हमारा योगिक प्रैक्टिसेस या एक्सरसाइजिंग प्रैक्टिसेस कैसी होनी चाहिए, जब वो डाउन पे है तो हमारी प्रैक्टिसेस कैसी होनी चाहिए, हमारी डाइट कैसी होनी चाहिए. इफ वी स्टार्ट टू अलाइन और लर्न दैट is where you start to bring about that balance in the body and start aligning with those 4 phases. So the modern way of life, as we said, is linear. It's ignoring the innate need of the body and the cyclic patterns that we are as human beings. So नाउ फ्रॉम अब हम जो मेजरली जो हमारी मेंस्ट्रुअल या फेमिनिन नीड्स जो है वो कॉम्प्रोमाइज होती हैं, वो किन रीजन से होती हैं, वो हमारी अपनी हैबिट से होती हैं. वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू रियलाइज दैट. सो इफ यू हैव एनी काइंड ऑफ मेंस्ट्रुएशन प्रॉब्लम्स, you first need to look within yourself. I mean, go to any specialist later. First look at yourself. क्या आप अपनी cyclic needs को ignore कर रहे हो? क्या आप पेन किलर्स पे रहते हो और you look for quick solutions? क्या आप contraceptive pills पे जाते हो for any kind of concerns, whether it be fertility concerns or PMS or you know any kind of reproductive concerns? I'm not saying कि ये नहीं लेना चाहिए. The whole idea is जिसका एक peak है उसको शुरू में जरूरत पड़ेगी. I mean, all the solution even yoga doesn't have or even Ayurveda doesn't have. I mean, it's a synergy of all the good coming from all the modalities that exist. So अगर आपकी जरूरत है आप definitely लीजिए, but अपने system को एक balance पे लाके then start moving on to natural ways of life is what the right approach should be. Then another common habit is mindless exercising. Now this is very common and getting very common in yoga practitioners also. करे तो करते चले गए, 2 घंटे किया 3 घंटे किया तो करते चले गए. And this is, I'm not talking of this for the people who are training for teachers training. It is mandatory for them. And उनकी body में, because you are learning a lot of other things also, so you're also learning how to bring in that balance with 2 to 3 hours of practice. So I'm not counting the learners there. I'm mindless exercising में मैं उन लोगों को count कर रही हूँ जो जिनको कुछ नहीं पता, जो रात में जाके खाना बाहर खाएंगे और सुबह जाके 3 घंटे जिम में बैठ जाएंगे, या माइंडलेसली प्रोटीन का इंटेक अप चला जाएगा जिनका, या कोई जो फैट डाइट्स पे चले जाएंगे, या जिनका लाइफस्टाइल का कुछ अता पता नहीं है, सुबह कब उठेंगे रात को कब सोएंगे, बट मुझे 3 घंटे एक्सरसाइज करना है तो करना है, या 2 घंटे करना है तो करना है, या मुझे एग्रेसिव फॉर्म करना है. सो आई एम टॉकिंग ऑफ सच काइंड ऑफ पीपल. सो दैट्स वेयर आई एम कॉलिंग इट अ माइंडलेस एक्सरसाइजिंग regime. Then the modern diet culture, very again one of the major causes, again for major reasons, because we have moved on from eating whole foods to processed foods. हम लोग दलिया नहीं खाते हैं, हम लोग आटे की चीजें खाते हैं, और आटे में भी हम बेकरी की चीजें खाते हैं, हम प्रोसेस चीजें खाते हैं. हम you know, when it comes to dairy, there are different opinions. I am frankly not very strong proponent of dairy, though Ayurveda has a very strong support on dairy. But the problem हमारे time में is कि to secrete more milk, the entire life cycle of cows is such that जब तक वो milk हमारे तक पहुंचता है तब तक उसमें इतना hormones additives mix हो चुके होते हैं that what you consume is not the milk but whatever has gone into the in that cow. So अगर उस cow को hormonal injections लगे हैं, जो कि commercial level पे ideally does happen to increase the milk supply of that cow. एक cow की अपनी capacity होती है, but अगर आप उसको hormones inject कर दोगे तो उसकी capacity बढ़ जाती है. Like this is again the name normal functionality, how it happens in humans, right? आपकी body में certain hormones secrete होते हैं, तभी lactation start होता है for women after pregnancy, right? So वो hormones जो आपकी body में lactation बढ़ा सकते हैं, उस तरह के hormones जब cows को दिए जाते हैं तो उनकी capacity to produce milk increases by n numbers. Like तो mass need को पूरा करने के लिए this is what is going on in the industry right now. और आप वो जब उस तरह का milk आप consume करते हो तो आप precisely वो जो hormones जो आपकी ग्रोथ साइकिल को n नंबर आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं, वो n नंबर आगे बढ़ाने वाला ग्रोथ साइकिल आपकी ग्रोथ हार्मोन्स आपकी बॉडी में भी जा रहे हैं. एंड दैट्स द वन ऑफ द रीजंस इन सम ऑफ द स्टडीज इट्स बीन प्रूवन कि फॉर अ लॉट ऑफ यंग फीमेल्स जिनके प्यूबर्टी बहुत जल्दी आ रही है, लाइक एक टाइम पे प्यूबर्टी 16 या 17 इयर्स में आती थी, फिर उसका 14 15 13 इस तरीके से मतलब डिक्लाइन आया. आज के टाइम में India में puberty rate has come down to 10 years. 10-year-old girl is getting into puberty, and a lot of it is coming from xenoestrogens, which I just talked about. ये xenoestrogens चाहे आपके milk synthetic hormones जो milk में जा रहे हैं उसके थ्रू आ सकते हैं, आपके skin care products के थ्रू आ सकते हैं, आपके n number of things like I guess I mean that altogether a different topic, but we have to be very very particular and aware about what we are doing right now and how we are living right now, because it's whatever we are doing is directly impacting our hormones in modern times. एंड देन हम अपनी एक्टिविटी रेस्ट को प्रायोरिटाइज नहीं करते हैं ओवर एक्टिविटी. Then we compromise on our sleep. We've just talked about that. Consuming and applying toxic ingredients on skin. We've talked about it. And using xenoestrogenic products such as plastics, aluminum foils, etc. And skincare products. ये जब आपकी body में absorb होते हैं. Very interesting study came as a part of my studies about microbiotic studies about 10 years back. I don't know आज के time में क्या data है, but about 10 years back when I was studying, as a part of my studies, I came across this study. A young American girl is exposed to 168, xenoestrogenic chemicals just with the use of skincare products. अभी तो हम food की भी बात नहीं कर रहे हैं, सिर्फ चाहे वो क्रीम लगा रही हैं, चाहे वो फेस वॉश को यूज कर रही हैं, चाहे वो कोई मेकअप आइटम यूज कर रही हैं. On an average, 167 different xenoestrogenic chemicals उनकी बॉडी में पाए गए, which means 167 sources जहां पर आपकी बॉडी ईस्ट्रोजन को मिमिक कर सकती है. और अगर ईस्ट्रोजन मिमिक होने लगेगा, ईस्ट्रोजन इज लाइक अ वेरी सूदिंग काइंड ऑफ हार्मोन. इट गिव्स यू ऑल दोस गुडी थिंग्स दैट यू वांट, लाइक फ्रॉम अ फीमेल पर्सपेक्टिव. बट अगर वो आपकी बॉडी में ओवर हो गया तो वो आपको हर तरह के नेगेटिव्स देगा जो आप एक्सपेक्ट नहीं करना चाहते. लाइक ब्रेस्ट कैंसर इज एन आउटकम ऑफ excess estrogen, impacting your breast. So it also starts to cause a lot of health concerns if it is not in balance. और अगर आप अपनी बॉडी के ऊपर छोड़ दोगे उसको प्रोड्यूस करना, then it will be in balance because body knows how much I need. But when you mindlessly keep doing other things and consuming things which are xenoestrogenic in nature, then वो automatically high उसमें add on हो रहा है automatically. I mean, consciously आप नहीं कर रहे हो, but because of the exposure of those products, it's automatically going in. So very important to be very aware of, that you're not doing anything which is making you go high on xenoestrogenic stuff. And then, okay, now understanding feminine needs. Now this is where actually we need to understand how things happen. सबसे पहले हमें ये समझना जरूरी है कि हमारी डेली रिदम्स कैसी हैं. मैं इसमें नहीं जाऊंगी, हमारा टॉपिक नहीं है, बट इफ यू वांट टू लर्न मोर अबाउट इट, आई गेस आयुर्वेदा इज द प्लेस टू बी. द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ दिनचर्या इन आयुर्वेदा टॉक्स अबाउट डेली रिदम्स. Then you talk of seasonal rhythms. Again, concept of Ayurveda talks about seasonal rhythms, which is the concept of Ritucharya. Third concept, which is living in harmony with the different phases of monthly cycle. This is what our topic is. This is what I'll be talking about. And then prioritizing rest over relaxation. ये आपको समझ में आ जाएगा जो हम अभी phases बात करेंगे उसमें. Then eating to fuel your body, not to satisfy your taste buds, but to actually fuel your body. जो आपकी body की need है उसको पूरा करने के लिए foods consume karna. And having a creative expression, which we've talked about, which is the bringing together your feminine energies. And then listening to your body and your intuition. If your body is telling you something, learn to listen to it, because agar dard hai to hai, your body is not faking it, or it's not making it up. So your body does not lie. I mean, everything else in the world can lie, but your body cannot lie. So let's just first understand menstruation. Before we understand how menstruation happens in the pelvic zone or the uterus, or the lower part of the body, how it starts in the head. So as we've just understood, menstruation का जो beginning होता है, like वो जो cycles जो चलते हैं वो कैसे चलते हैं? वो चलते हैं when there is an interaction between hypothalamus gland and pituitary gland, and at a certain phase in your menstruation cycle, there is an interaction between your reproductive organs sending some signals to your brain, and then your brain sending back that signals to pituitary gland, and pituitary gland then now sending back signals to your reproductive organs to start these different phases. चाहे वो ovulation का phase है, चाहे वो follicular phase है, ovulation का phase है, चाहे वो menstruation का phase है. So जो उसके signaling आएगी वो आपके brain से आएगी, which means if you are stressed, your body will prioritize stress hormones over your sex hormones. This is again one concept which is coming from Eastern medicine. अगर आप बहुत high on stress रहते हो, और हमने अभी समझने की कोशिश करी है what is stress. Stress is everything. It is अगर कोई physical, मतलब if there is, like, you're jumping out of the bed in the morning, not spending some time, taking your own time to do your own things or settle down your body, that is also stress. So stress can be whatever we are living through the day in modern times, all is stress. So if your mind is ruled by stress, then the management of sex hormones becomes secondary for your brain. और अगर brain उसको secondary करेगा तो automatically the signaling will not be right, and that's where when it comes to actually menstruating, the up and down will start to happen because the signals from the brain are not coming right. Again, the concept goes back to, we have to start to pass on the right signals to the brain. That will not happen by changing the situations, but by changing our perception towards the situations, by improving our diet, to making those physical components strong, by practicing yogic practices to open up the block channels, to have that free flow of energy, and to learning to listen to our own selves. When our body is saying something that it is stressed, means it is stressed. If it is saying it is relaxed and you can do things, then you can do things. So we have to always keep in mind, things will start from the brain, in your head. Okay, so when it is out of balance, hypothalamus sends out wrong signals or incomplete messages to the pituitary, and then from there, those, you know, the sex hormones will start to have experience some kind of imbalances. So let's just talk of the phase 1 first. सबसे पहला phase जो हम उसको count करते हैं, that is the menstruation phase, which is the first day of your cycle. And it lasts from, it's the bleeding that lasts from 3 to 6 days. So आपका जो first day होगा menstruation, so that is the first day of the menstruation phase. Yeah, this time is when you're bleeding, we know that, and it is the time to nurture and support your body. Now, this is the time, like if we go by the definition of how Ayurveda defines it, this is the time when your body is detoxifying, and if it is day 1, your body has already started to detoxify, which means एक तरफ body सफाई कर रही है और दूसरी तरफ अगर आप body में garbage डालते जाओगे, like during your menstruation time, अगर if you keep having alcohol, or if you keep having fat diets, or if you keep having all those foods which are toxic, are becoming toxic in nature, will hamper the detoxification process, because body का जो focus है then shifts to digestion, and digestion pe, if it shifts through digestion and takes a lot of time on digestion, then the focus towards detoxification will go low. So see, energy is limited. That's the concept of physics also. Energy हमारी body में limited है. वो energy को आप कैसे manage करते हो? Energy management is the key to health, or to healthy menstruation, or howsoever you would want to name it. But अगर वो energy आपने एक जगह से खींच के दूसरी जगह डाल दी, तो फुल एनर्जी एक तरफ नहीं जाएगी. सो वी हैव टू बी, दैट्स व्हाई वी हैव टू बी इन अ रेस्ट मोड, ताकि हम वो एनर्जी को कहीं और कंज्यूम नहीं करें, ताकि हम डिटॉक्सिफिकेशन में वो एनर्जी को पूरी डाल सकें. एंड देन it is the time to slow down for the same reason, because the body is detoxifying, and allow the yin nature to be dominant. Now yin nature, I mean, this is again altogether a different concept. I'll not get into that, but yin nature is more like your feminine energy. This is the time to slow down, to be more cooling, to be more flowing, to not get into that linear pattern कि क्योंकि मुझे ये काम करना है तो करना है, नहीं भी होगा कोई बात नहीं, मैं 2 दिन बाद कर दूंगी. This time let me do what I feel like doing. I feel like cooking something good for myself. I feel like having something warm. So this is the yin nature, where you're just flowing by what your body is telling you to do. So being into that mode. Now this is the time अब hormonal level पे इस time पे क्या होता है आपके, there is a drop in sex hormones, progesterone and estrogen. So now why the drop is happening, we have to, let's just understand the concept also. Estrogen or progesterone are also very deeply related to our reproduction, right? Now, since the reproduction did not happen, and the uterus lining is kind of it's breaking, or it's coming out in the form of that flow. So automatically जब estrogen high गया था और progesterone high गया था, वो ये सोच के गया था कि now maybe the egg will fertilize, but it did not. So जब वो break हुआ तो estrogen और progesterone के high जाने की जरूरत ही नहीं है, तो automatically वो low पे चला जाएगा. Plus automatically, because of the flow, also it will go low. Ultimately, when progesterone or estrogen are low, these are also the hormones by nature that keep you active. Like if you look at somebody, maybe your daughter or your son in their teens, they're very high and active on energy, because these reproductive hormones, this is specifically for females, not for males, but estrogen is really oozing out of them. So that is making them really jumpy, active, and really just wanting to go out and do things and be outdoors and whatever. So जब वो ऑटोमेटिकली ब्रेक हो रहा है, तो लेथार्जी ऑटोमेटिक है आना. जब लेथार्जी है, तो आप जब अपने आप को पुश करते जाओगे, आप वो मेंस्ट्रुएशन से एनर्जी खींच के आप किसी और जगह डाल रहे हो, अपने काम में डाल रहे हो, तो ऑटोमेटिकली डिटॉक्सिफिकेशन प्रोसेस will get hampered. Your hormones automatically are low, so आपको एनर्जी वैसे ही नहीं होगी, और आप उसको काउंटर करने के लिए then you take medication, and this becomes a vicious cycle. Month after month you keep doing that, and by at some point in time you realize कि अब तो ये सही नहीं हो रहा है, तो उसका रूट आज से नहीं बना, उसका रूट आपने जब से ये रियलाइज नहीं किया तब से बनना शुरू हो चुका था. सो एनर्जी इज ऑटोमेटिकली लो, बॉडी साफ हो रही है, एंड ऑटोमेटिकली जब बॉडी साफ हो रही है और आपके हार्मोन्स कम है, एनर्जी कम है, तो आपका इम्यून सिस्टम भी लो है, which means this is the time you are more prone to getting some health conditions. So for a lot of women also face conditions like headaches or body pains or some aches here and there and whatever. So this is also an indication that your immune system is low, which means your body har taraf se is telling you that I really need rest, because not because I need it, but because internally things are changing like that without rest I'll not be able to recover. And if I don't recover, and if that becomes a cycle month by month, over years I will accumulate so much of stress in my body that then the reversal will not be possible. So we have to start to understand this from that perspective. From phase 1 is all about rest and relaxation and being more flowy. Then we need more sleep. If your body asks you to sleep more, it is absolutely normal. Have more sleep. For very active women, now this is something that I realized over time. I'm by nature I'm very very active, like and active, when I say active, not necessarily mean ki mujhe bahar jaake active karna hai, but one point in time I'll be studying something, second point in time I'll be writing something, third point in time I'll be doing something for my business. So I'll be involved in the things that really keep me happy or active. So wo jo active mode hai, that is also in Ayurveda is the Pitta mode, which is, and Pitta dominates the menstruation cycle as per Ayurveda. So if you're very high on activity, which is also very heat generating, which is also Pitta, too much of a heat leads to all these conditions like hot flashes, like menstruation से related जितनी भी आपकी most of the heated conditions आती हैं, जैसे बहुत गर्मी लगना है एकदम से, a lot of women face that kind of like body getting really warmed up and all those conditions. So this is just the beginning, but it could also be related to gastric issues and like altogether a different topic. I'll not get into that, but the whole idea is for women who have such tendencies, which even I realized over time that I had, we have to understand ki things will not work by what my mind tells me. My body will still work the way hormones are working. So I don't have any choice but to surrender to this time. So over time I realized ki let it be. Agar mera kaam 2 din late ho jayega, koi baat nahi. But this time, if my body is asking me something, I have to do it. And I also learned it the hard way, not in my 20s, not in my 30s. As I got into my early 40s, I realized ki ab karna padega, because now I see that even if I have been so particular about my diet and lifestyle, still it is hitting me, and I don't want that. तो मेरे पास कोई choice ही नहीं है. अगर मैं ऐसी चलती रहूंगी तो ये और hit करता चला जाएगा. So you have to make a choice there. And then precisely the time to so this is also the time to take off from, as जो हमने अभी पहले भी discuss किया है कि if you are more into that activity mode ki 5:30 AM gym sessions or late night parties or skip, or I have to go for my power yoga session, or I have to get into any kind of active mode, please take a break from that, because not that it is just the need of that point in time, but it will make huge lot of a difference कि over years आपका cycle कैसे shape up होगा, because आप जितना support करते चले जाओगे month by month अपने cycle को, उतना you are creating a stronger base for all these conditions not to happen in the later years. Okay, and then food wise, reducing the intake of toxins, हमने reason समझ लिया है, because body automatically detox mode में, अगर आप और गंदगी body में डाल दोगे तो body का focus change होके उस गंदगी को साफ करने में जाएगा, rather than its own pushing out its own गंदगी. And if the garbage of of our own body is not out, then what happens? Stagnation happens. तो वो जो dark clotting blood होता है, that will be the result, जो कि टूट के निकलेगा, and ultimately it will start to become painful, it will start to become fibroid. So all those accumulations will start to take their own forms in the body if they are not getting out in the right form when they're supposed to. So अगर हम toxins की बात करें तो toxins like refined sugars, too high sugar, caffeine, alcohol, fatty foods, refined and processed foods are all toxins at this point in during this phase of your cycle. Phase 1 is also a time of stillness, we just discussed. It's the time of letting go, and nature is telling us that this is a time of letting go. Why? Because our body is letting go. Our body is letting go blood, which is the fluid that keeps us, that's the only fluid जिसकी वजह से हम survive करते हैं, right? So if we are losing that fluid, so it's also emotionally, it is also a sign that let go. अगर आप कुछ hold करे बैठे हो emotionally, just let it be, let go and just move on. And then listening and feeling into your own body. Now what your body is telling you, just go by what's going on in your body. And then ये जो pattern है जो अभी हमने discuss किया है, now this is something which is very anti-modern way of life, in the sense कि जिसको बाहर जाना है वो फिर भी जाएगा, जिसको जंक फूड खाना है फिर भी खाएगा, irrespective कि मेरा cycle चल रहा है, that's okay, because that's how through advertisements or through modern way of life we have been shown, that's how it happens. But उसके repercussions क्या हैं वो हमें किसी ने नहीं बताया, वो हम face कर रहे हैं. So if we want to skip those repercussions, we really have to skip all those media or advertisement gimmicks, and we really have to start to connect with our intuition. We have to start to know who we are and then live by those phases. Okay, so what should be the yoga pattern for phase 1? It should be more of grounding, relaxing, and calming and nurturing kind of yogic practices, which means any kind of flows like too much of vinyasas, or too much of ashtanga form of practice, or too much of a power yoga form of a practice is not recommended during this time, simply because too much of activity will take you in a sympathetic mode. As soon as you go into sympathetic mode, your sex hormones will be impacted, which means your elimination will be impacted. So आपका flow will get impacted. Flow impact होगा तो उसको तो निकलना ही था, वो निकल नहीं रहा है. क्योंकि वो निकल नहीं रहा है तो वो accumulate हो रहा है, and that is where the stagnation is happening. So grounding, relaxing, and calming practices. Then more restorative yoga practices. Restorative yoga practices, I'll not get in detail. I guess we all come from yogic background, so we know what restorative practices are, which are very on the ground lying kind of practices, and not very aggressive ones. Just being where you are. Like if you put your legs on the wall and lying down on the floor, just be there, like not pushing or pulling yourself into that. And then Yoga Nidra to calm your nervous system, because nervous system will take you towards parasympathetic mode. And then reclining poses are great, because that gives a reclining kind of a posture. So it kind of stretches your pelvic and uterus area. So it gets a outward stretch. So which also means any stagnation which is held inside starts to break, and the flow becomes better. And that also creates some space and softness in the belly. So whatever is accumulated starts to melt down. So practices like Matsya Asana, Shalavasana, Dharurasana, Bhujangasana, these all create that reclining factor in your body. And then soft belly breaths, including Anulom Vilom, again to balance your nervous system. Floor-based grounding asanas, jo ki do not engage your abdominal muscles or pelvic floor muscles. So this is the same like restorative, but you can get into some active practices also, as long as you're not using your abdominal muscles. So it's only if you're only doing leg work, it's absolutely okay. But as soon as you start to involve your pelvic or abdominal muscles, then it will start to interfere with the menstrual activity. And then include more of hip opening, restorative poses we've discussed, and refrain from practicing power yoga. We've discussed that. Malasana, butterfly pose. So these postures which help create openness and space in the pelvic zone, like Malasana, like butterfly, which opens up the pelvic area, will create a good blood flow in that area. And more the blood flow, better your hormonal system is going to be. And in this phase, what to avoid? Deep twists. For the same reason that we should be keeping our belly, the practices that we do on our belly and abdomen or pelvic very, very soft during this time. Abdominal exercises or deep compression of the belly should not be practiced. Inversions, especially the ones with where hips invert. So inversions like headstand and all that, where hips also invert, should not be done. Kapalbhati pranayam, of course, because it creates pressure on your abdomen. And then strong back bends and dynamic vinyasas should not be done. Okay, now the second phase is follicular phase. This is the phase now, again, the menstruation is over, and the cycle of creating recreation of ovulation again starts to happen with the follicular phase. So इस phase में क्या होता है? Growth. It is the growth phase. And it ideally begin. So ideally क्या होता है? अगर इसको हम phase की form में count करें, ideally it is counted from day 1 of your menstruation only. But day 1 of your menstruation till you have your periods is where the menstruation phase happens. Sorry, but follicular phase continues till next 14 days. Why is it so? Because आपका uterus lining तो it's removing, but ovaries have already started working for the next growth phase. So that's why day 1 of your menstruation also follicular phase is considered from that point on. So uterus in the is, so this is again, it's the same concept ki uterus aapka menstrual phase mein hota hai, but ovaries have already started to be in a follicular phase. So the growth has already happened. Now this time, at this point in time, kyunki menstruation phase pe automatically aapka estrogen and progesterone was low. Now estrogen and progesterone have to build up kyunki now the body is again preparing for reproduction. Okay, so now now the signals will be passed on to your brain, and brain will send out the signals, like hypothalamus will send out the signals to pituitary gland to produce something called FSH, which is follicle stimulating syndrome hormone, sorry, जो कि stimulate करेगा ovaries को to start producing estrogen, और वहां से estrogen आपका up होना शुरू होगा, which means इस point, इस time के around, if you are stressed or if you are in an overactivity mode, if your mind is sensing too much of sympathetic mode, then the production of estrogen and the production of the cycle of reproduction will start to get hampered right from this point, because as we've just understood that menstruation starts in the head, later in the body, first in the head. So आपका अगर if the second phase is smooth, in that case the estrogen and progesterone during the production, estrogen will be production will be good. This will also give rise to creativity, energy, and moods, and that's what we experience. Like once the menstruation is over, automatically we feel a surge of energy. We want to do things, we want to go out. That feeling automatically happens, like moods get better. This is because estrogen is going up. It is no magic or miracle. It is to do with estrogen levels going up. Now estrogen has a rejuvenating effect, as we just discussed. Or estrogen jo hai, it is responsible for your beauty. Estrogen is the it's also called the beauty hormone. So if you have a toned body, if you have juicy what do you call, juiciness in you, or if you have those that shinier skin or very lustrous kind of hair, it is because your body has estrogen just right in balance, and that will also lead to elevated moods. And this is what we see in youngsters, in females in their teens, because their estrogens are automatically at their peak because of their age. And that's why whatever they eat, whatever they do, unko kuch nahi hoga, because estrogen is supporting at that point in time. Now for women who are getting into their late 30s and 40s, we do not have that luxury or liberty, because estrogen is time pe naturally hamari body mein nahi hoga. It automatically starts to come down. There was a reason why it was up in our teens, and that's why us time pe we can do anything and everything. Now we cannot afford to do it because now estrogen is not supporting us, which also means this is, I'm also trying to answer one more question that often comes in my practice, ki अब से 5-6 साल पहले तक तो सेम डाइट मुझे बहुत सूट करती थी, या सेम लाइफस्टाइल या सेम एक्सरसाइज मुझे बहुत सूट करती थी, आई लॉस्ट वेट. अब नहीं कर रहा है. चीजें तो मैं वही कर रही हूँ, पर क्यों नहीं कर रहा है? दिस इज द रीजन. यू आर नो मोर द सेम. 5-6 साल पहले तक आपका ईस्ट्रोजन वाज एट अ गुड लेवल. नाउ इट हैज स्टार्टेड टू ड्रॉप डाउन. One, it has started to drop down because of the age you're getting into, and it happens with all the females on earth, so you cannot do much about it. But you can create an environment or a lifestyle or a diet pattern that keeps that the decline happens really slow, is all you can do. So this is what we have to focus on. And then this time on during this phase 2, testosterone, which is so called a male hormone, but it also rises a little, which gives us energy and strength for building and inversion practices that need more strength. So which means आपके menstruation के बाद का जो time है, next 14 days are the time when you is the best time when you should be doing all those vinyasa flows, ashtanga form of practice, power yoga form of practice, because आपकी body अब support करेगी उसे because of those hormones getting up now. And rather it will not impact you negatively, because till the time your hormones support you, it's about, it's all about how much your hormones support you. अगर वो करेंगे तो आप जितना मर्जी गंद खाते रहो, अपना आपका वेट आएगा ना, आपकी स्किन को कुछ होगा ना, आपके हेयर को कुछ होगा ना, आपके मेंस्ट्रुअल साइकिल को कुछ होगा. बट अगर आपके हार्मोन्स आपके फेवर में नहीं है, आप दुनिया भर का बेस्ट खा लो, दुनिया भर की बेस्ट एक्सरसाइज कर लो, कुछ भी कर लो, योर सिस्टम will not be where you want it to be, because everything, the control is with the hormones. And then yoga for phase 2 is going to be, you start to build up. Now that कि आपका cycle से कल खत्म हुआ और मैं आज से अष्टांगा में चले जाऊं, no, it's not like that. You have to build up, because वो low phase था, energy low थी, estrogen अभी build हो रहा है, अभी peak पे गया नहीं है, अभी वो in the phase है. So your practice should also grow with that phase. धीरे करके you first start to build strength in your spine, क्योंकि आपने 4-5 दिन में भी शायद कुछ नहीं किया, and then you धीरे से, like you start to build up all the parts of your body. Then begin with gentle stabilizing standing postures, balancing postures, inversions, gentle stretching कि आपने जो constriction body में आई थी आप उसको खोलना शुरू करोगे, soft back bends पे जाओगे, not the hard ones till now, because estrogen now that see the peak of your hormones is the time when you can do peak of any kind of activities or exercises that you want to do. So that's the little concept, if that helps you understand. And then since now still it is rising, so you'll gradually get into that mode, and then you'll add sequencing depending on how strong you feel. And again, agar aapko lagta hai ki now the surge is happening nicely, aapka cycle 28 days ka hai, 30 days ka hai, so that surge will happen very in a right phased manner. Then you can move on to more strength postures like warrior lunges and balances. Good time to practice inversions. This is also right, the good time to practice inversions, stronger core work, and big back bends. Now days after this transition you can also include more dynamic strength. So now once iska jo phase 2 aayega, is phase ka जब आपका एस्ट्रोजन ऑलमोस्ट अपवर्ड्स की तरफ है, तब आप और ज्यादा स्ट्रेंथ बिल्डिंग में जा सकते हो, और ज्यादा आप एनर्जी अपनी एक्सपेंड कर सकते हो, बिकॉज मोर द एस्ट्रोजन मोर द एनर्जी यू हैव टू एक्सपेंड, that you can expend. And then you can utilize ujjayi breath, which is heating and calming, that will support your rise of energy in the body at this point in time. So that was phase 2. Now phase 3 is phase 3 आपका almost now 14 days हम यहाँ पर काउंट कर रहे हैं for those जिनका 28 डे का साइकिल होता है, almost 28 डेज का, जिनका 28 से 35 या 40 के बीच में जाता है, उनके कुछ कुछ डेज डिले होंगे. So how much delay will be is not something that I can tell or anybody can tell. That is a very personal thing, I believe. So you really have to be very mindful of knowing your own pattern, which means आपको starting from today say next 3, 4, 5 months, just notice your pattern, write down everything. मेरे को cycle इस time पे आया, इस time पे मुझे ऐसा feel हो रहा है. So that's how you start to connect back with your cycle. And then, but for people who have 28 days cycle, उनका generally 14 days में phase 2 से आप phase 3 की तरफ चले जाते हो, which is the ovulation phase. Now this is the time when actually ovulation is happening. When ovulation is happening is the time when your body has to support you for pregnancy. Okay, now for that it needs high levels of hormones, and because of which it will produce dramatic the rise in estrogen will be dramatic, and progesterone will also be high. So progesterone ultimately so what it does is estrogen आपको prepare करेगा और progesterone उसको last करने की पूरी preparation करेगा. So that's how they work in coordination. If अगर आपकी बॉडी ऑलरेडी बैलेंस में है, आपका 28 डेज का साइकिल है, आपकी डाइट सही है, आपका सोने उठने का पैटर्न सही है, आप अपने स्ट्रेस मैनेजमेंट टेक्निक्स आपकी आर गुड, in that case, if you're balanced overall, in that case, at this time you will feel the most energetic. This is also the time that you're most fertile, which also means that your skin will be at its peak capacity. Your hair automatically will start to get more shinier. You will start to feel more outgoing. You want to go out and do things. So you will feel more vibrant. So wo jo vibrancy wali jo feeling aane lagti hai, that is the ovulation phase, because estrogen and progesterone are rising, and women usually feel more happy and relaxed during this time. Since estrogen and progesterone, as I said, are yin hormones, these are relaxation inducing hormones, and that's the reason you feel more relaxed during this time. So which means agar aapke paas workload bhi zyada hoga, still you will not take more stress, because these hormones are supporting you. And then the production of neurochemicals such as serotonin and endorphins, the happy hormone. So this is with estrogen, there is a co-connection between estrogen and the production of serotonin and endorphins, so that also adds on to the happiness factor. So this is the prime time for you for ovulation also, as towards fertility also, and also to burn your energy, which means अगर आपको कुछ भी experimental करना है अपनी practice में या exercising routine में, जैसे कि से फॉर एग्जांपल आपको जॉगिंग करनी है, या आपको एक नया पोज सीखना है, आपको हेड स्टैंड सीखना है, आपको हैंड स्टैंड सीखना है, दिस इज आइडियली द राइट टाइम, बिकॉज दिस इज अ टाइम व्हेन योर हार्मोन्स आर सपोर्टिंग यू टू अ लेवल जहां पर आपकी बॉडी और माइंड के पास पूरी कैपेबिलिटी है वो चीज अचीव करने की. योर बॉडी इज नॉट इन दैट लो फेज. एंड देन yoga is phase mein aapki prime time, as we just discussed, so you can burn energy because you have more energy, so you can burn more. This is a time to explore difficult poses like headstands, deep back bend. So you can design your yoga practice in a way where once you start to understand your cycle and you align your yogic practices in a way, you will see how beautifully your hormones automatically will start to get back into balance, because अब आप उनको ओवर यूज नहीं कर रहे हो, आप उनको सपोर्ट कर रहे हो उस तरीके से जिस तरीके से उनको दे नीड टू बी. So, and then you can also take up a vinyasa class or a power yoga class or ashtanga class or elongated balances. Or this is also the time when you can continuously do 2 to 3 hours of practice. That's perfectly okay because your energy now is supporting you. And then arm balances like bakasana or handstand. Pranayam like Nari Shodhan is a good time to do that cleansing also, because heat is rising, energy is rising. And then both active and supported backbends आप कर सकते हो. So अगर आपको steep backbends में जाना, like which are really sharp backbends, then this is the time, not the menstruation phase, not the follicular phase. Ovulation phase में yes, and ovulation phase के बाद वाला जो phase है, मतलब towards the end is the best time. And then circling, flowing movements of the hips and pelvis. Why? Because this is the time when things are building up inside. So you want to keep all that circulation on. For the women who are wanting to get pregnant, this pattern is good from them also, because you're working on creating movements in your pelvic zone through circling, through flowing movements, and through moving your hips and pelvis, you are making that blood flow reach the uterus. And if the blood flow reaches, automatically everything goes as planned. So this is a time when you can practice all of these things. And then grounding and hip opening asanas such as malasana and pigeon pose, again good ones because they work on the pelvic zone. And then balancing poses are good ones, inversions, warrior. So any aggressive form of practices, this is the time to actively do all of that. Now the fourth phase is the transition phase, the luteal phase. This is the time आपके menstruation से पहले और आपके later stage of ovulation, which also may mean your PMS time, like say हफ्ता से कई लोगों को maybe say about say 7 to 10 days before cycle the PMS starts to happen. So probably that time. But PMS जिनको हो रहा है, that also indicates that luteal phase में अगर PMS आ रहा है, which means you are imbalanced, because as we've just understood that this time is not meant to be painful. It's not meant to be the time when you're bloated or any kind of conditions that you have. It only happens when you are imbalanced inside. So this is a time when transition from ovulation to the most fertile time until menstruation happens. This phase is also dominated by progesterone. Now this phase is more dominated by progesterone. Estrogen तो है ही है, but progesterone ऊपर जाता है इसमें for the simple reason क्योंकि ovulation हो चुका है. Now it's something like now the input is awaited so that the fertilization happens. But if वो होगा कि नहीं होगा, that is a separate story. But हमारी body prepare जरूर करती है, हर महीने prepare करती है. So वो जो preparation वाला part है और उसको sustain करने का जो part है, that is what progesterone is, where progesterone plays a role. During this time, there is also a rise in another hormone called relaxin, which is not very talked about often. But what this does is this relaxes the ligaments and tendons of the body, causing more fluidity, softness, and flexibility in the pelvic area. So consciously, अगर आप notice करोगे, this is the time आप automatically you feel that there is some bloating happening or some fulawat happening in the lower part of the body. There is some stretching or some tenderness happening in the lower part. Probably that is the action of hormone relaxin, which also means कि आपकी body में already tenderness आ रही है उस time पे, और उस time पे stretches, deep stretches or deep things करने का there's no point, because then you are further stretching things which is not needed or required. So this is also the time when heat in the body rises, causing classical PMS symptoms like irritability, headache, agitation. So this is from the emotions perspective, but physical perspective से acne, आपका bloating, all those PMS symptoms, headaches, and all of that starts to happen. This is, as I said, like more of heat condition, which is Pitta form, which is again a different topic in Ayurveda. But menstruation in Ayurveda is a heating, it's a heat factor. So automatically it will go high. The only thing that we need to do is we need to learn to balance that heat. So which means cooling postures, not very active form of postures, cooling foods, which bring you back in balance, that doesn't let that heat go up, because heat ऊपर जाएगी तो PMS symptoms सारे आएंगे. So you have to learn to create that balance within the body. And then this is a phase less accepted in the modern way of living. In this time, the energy is decreasing and you are naturally drawing inward. Now, a lot of, I don't know if mindfully any of you has experience, but there is a time during this time when you don't want to talk to anybody, or there would be times in a day जब आपको लगता है कि मुझे बस छोड़ दो, like I just want to be on my own. So this is again not something that is your mood swing, but that is the need of this time. So why this is happening, you are drawing more inwards as estrogen and progesterone levels are again going low. So वो cycle अब दोबारा शुरू हो रहा है. शुरू हुआ था, ऊपर गया था, फिर पीक पे गया और अब नीचे आना शुरू हो रहा है. अभी पूरा नीचे नहीं गया, पूरा नीचे जाएगा जब menstruation start होगा. So now we are come on to the downward trend. In the downward trend, Hormones are low, energy is low, yoga practice has to be soft and slow before that, flow happens, and then the rise again starts to happen. Now, transition between the most fertile and the most so this is a transition time between the most fertile and the most cleansing phase of the month. दो important activities जो body में हो रही हैं उनके बीच का time है ये, which is usually about 10 to 14 days. अगर आप इस time पे balanced हो, and if you are going by your cycle, and gradually if you start to live by what these cycles, whatever you understood, and the more you research and get into it, automatically you will see this time will become much more beautiful for you. For a lot of women it comes as PMS, but आप जितना align होते चले जाओगे, वो PMS की जगह it will start to come as more fuller kind of time, more creative kind of time, more open and outward type of time, more you feeling more, not just looking but also feeling more vibrant kind of time. Imbalances will aggravate. अगर आपकी body में already imbalances हैं, तो ये time है जब body बिल्कुल उनको flare up करके दिखा देगी. So this is actually the time when you can know yourself. अगर आपको बहुत high PMS symptoms आते हैं, be rest assured that you have a lot of imbalances in the body, because body is just throwing out that heat. जितने आप में भरा हुआ था वो इस time पे सब बाहर आ जाएगा. So this is a good time for self reflection की what is it that is inside me. And then this phase also begins to with increased energy, and then a need to transition to a lower energy. Now, because it is the heat time, very up time, you need to go low, you need to go cool towards relaxation. Many women can also experience bloating, breast tenderness, sluggishness, all those PMS symptoms that we just discussed. And it is especially important during this phase to set boundaries. As I said, learning to say no. आपको पता है मेरा ये time आ रहा है, कोई party है, कहीं पर I'm invited, I have to go out for a dinner. Don't ignore your need, because आप occasionally here, that's okay, but if it is a regular pattern, you keep ignoring it, and then don't complain in your late 30s and 40s कि मेरे साथ क्या हो गया, या मेरा uterus removal का नौबत आ गई, या मैं infertility mode में चली गई. You have created it for your own self. So there is a science behind how you should be working with your own self. And then supporting the detoxification process of the body by eating, cleansing and warming food, such as one of the recipes is this mung bean soup. You can look up the recipe on Google if you want, like just for information, I've kept it here. And then what are the yoga requirements for this phase? Start with because we said that this is the transition between your most fertile phase, which is the peak of your hormones. So aap is phase ke starting mein, to you can be very high on all these aggressive activities, practices like Ashtanga, Vinyasa, power yoga and all of that. But gradually, dhire dhire karke, as the days pass on, you can get into more relaxing Hatha yoga class, which is more of or restorative kind of class, or more of holding postures rather than movement postures. And then combination of yin yoga that supports your adrenals and kidneys is a great way to let the energy flow downwards. Adrenals and kidneys pe hum kyun baat kar rahe hain? Again, I'll not get into the details, but just to give you a little clue on this, adrenals are related related to your release your stress hormones, and adrenals are lying just on top of your kidneys, or kidneys in most cases are stressed. So agar aapki kidneys stressed hain, they have an impact on your adrenals as well. और हमारी किडनीज किस चीज से स्ट्रेस होती हैं? हमारी किडनीज फीलिंग ऑफ फियर से स्ट्रेस में जाती हैं. हमारी किडनीज टू मच ऑफ ठंडा पीने से या खाने से स्ट्रेस में जाती हैं. सो फॉर पीपल हु हैव दिस हैबिट ऑफ ईटिंग आइसक्रीम्स इन विंटर्स, और हैविंग ठंडा पानी फ्रॉम द फ्रिज, और ईटिंग एनीथिंग वेरी कूल एंड ठंडा, आर अल्टीमेटली क्रिएटिंग प्रॉब्लम फॉर द किडनीज. किडनीज में प्रॉब्लम आएगा तो एड्रिनल्स में प्रॉब्लम आएगा, एड्रिनल्स में आएगा ओवर ईयर्स, तो आपके स्ट्रेस हार्मोन्स ऑटोमेटिकली, और स्ट्रेस रिस्पॉन्स विल स्टार्ट टू चेंज, अल्टीमेटली विल स्टार्ट टू इम्पैक्ट योर female hormones as well. So that's the deep-rooted connectivity there. So good postures for this time is Surya Namaskar, then flowing downward dog, warrior sequences, cobra, Shalabhasana, Boasana, bow pose, shoulder stand, Halasana. All of these are good, but then these have to, these have to be designed in a way jahan par aap start karoge aggressive se, and then you'll come towards a downward pattern, more towards easy, relaxing kind of practices. And then you need to boost circulation around the pelvis and belly with postures like butterfly pose, lying butterfly pose, or sitting, whatever is good. And then focus on twists. Now this is also the time to focus on twists, because now we are awaiting the detoxification to happen. Okay, menstruation is detoxification. So the more this time up menstruation se pehle aap jitna twist kar loge, you are making sure that you are twisting and turning your internal parts, so that when menstruation happens, all that toxicity gets broken down and gets out of the body easily. So this is actually the time to do a lot of good, include a lot of twists in your practice. So this was about the 4 phases from the yoga perspective and understanding how you should be living your 4 phases. From the dietary perspective, uska specifically phases se directly koi lena dena nahi hai, though there are certain things still that you can do, but on a generic basis, आपकी diet में ऐसा क्या है जो आपके menstrual cycle को in the long run will impact really negatively. If you are very high on sugars, and when I say sugars, I also mean fruit sugars. Say for example, you say that मैं sugar बिल्कुल नहीं खाती, but आपकी diet में मतलब say 50% is just fruit. So that fruit sugar fructose also has been proven in research to be causing impact to the liver, and liver is the seat of estrogen. So if liver is impacted, estrogen metabolism automatically gets impacted. So high sugary foods is the very, very first thing that every woman should think of giving up if you really want your menstrual cycle to be really healthy throughout your cycle lifetime. Then dairy products, for obvious reasons that we've just discussed. One, toxicity and the hormones that it is carrying, and secondly, dairy products do also cause congestion. So the absorption of dairy in human body is not 100%. So jitna digestive absorb हो जाता है उतना हो जाता है, और जितना नहीं होता, which is about somewhere around 30 to 40%, gets clogged in the body. और वो clogging आपको कैसे पता चलती है? In the form of congestion. For example, high on mucus, high on bloating in the body. All these symptoms could be also the stagnation coming in from your dairy products. And then refined and processed foods, artificial sweeteners, again even more harmful than natural foods that we're talking about. Commercial and bakery items, obviously for obvious reasons. Alcohol I would specifically focus on, because these days females just don't mind having alcohol. Like they'll be on a very healthy routine, exercising, gymming, yoga, diet, everything, but alcohol is something that they don't want to give up. So this is one of the most highest causative factors for menstrual concerns if you are very frequent on alcohol, or even caffeine, because caffeine stimulates your nervous system unnecessary, which is not required, and makes it weaker. So weaker your nervous system, because all these hormones are regulated through your nervous system only, the signaling of nervous system. So agar nervous system weak hai, to automatically jo signals sahi nahi honge, and automatically the problems will start to happen. And then smoking. So all these foods, if they become a regular way of life, अल्टीमेटली आपको एक दिन में नहीं पता चलेगा, एक हफ्ते में नहीं पता चलेगा, एक महीने में नहीं पता चलेगा, आपको ये पता चलेगा, बिलीव मी, इन योर late 30s. And if you're still not in your late 30s, you have very good time to start to live this way of life to avoid anything that you can expect in your late 30s. Because I mean, this has been my research part also. Like, this is the time not much emphasized on. हम सिर्फ मेनोपॉज की बात करते हैं. मेनोपॉज से 10 साल पहले क्या होता है, nobody is talking about it. And this is what happens, like lot of changes happening in the body, and you just going crazy, not understanding मेरे बाल क्यों खराब हो रहे हैं, मेरी स्किन क्यों खराब हो रही है, मेरा वेट क्यों कंट्रोल में नहीं आ रहा है, मेरे PMS सिम्टम्स क्यों बढ़ रहे हैं, मुझे हॉट फ्लैशेस क्यों हो रहे हैं. And we take it very lightly. For us, solution is just a medication, but it is bigger problem than menopause. Menopause तो once for all done है ना, but ये phase you have to keep living for next 10 to 15 years. So now the internal imbalances that cause menstrual fluctuations. Now, अब जब आपका diet सही नहीं है, जब आप when you're not understanding your feminine energies, when you're not living by 4 phases of what we've discussed, ultimately internal imbalances will start to happen. और वो imbalances किस form में दिखने शुरू होंगे? Now, this is where the actual scientific factor comes into the practice. This is where your blood reports will show the imbalance. This is where आपके hormones disturb दिखने शुरू होंगे. This is where आपकी body बहुत acidic आएगी. This is where आपके गैस्ट्रिक इश्यूज बड़े हुए दिखेंगे, या आपका थायराइड ऊपर नीचे दिखेगा, या आपका लिवर कंजेस्टेड दिखेगा, या आपका हाई ब्लड शुगर दिखेगा, या आपके एड्रिनल्स ओवर स्ट्रेस्ड होंगे. मतलब दिस इज द फेज where actually modern science starts with, but इससे पहले कितना कुछ हो रहा है that nobody knows about. So this is I guess the last stage, but this is where in the modern world we start from. और जब ये सब होना शुरू होगा तो automatically all these concerns that we've just discussed will automatically gradually will start to build up. Now, the foods that we should be living by for balancing our menstrual cycle: prefer or choose whole grains over powdered forms of grains. For example, if you have a choice to have porridge as compared to a roti, porridge is way more healthier than a roti for various reasons. whole grains keep all the nutrition intact. The powders that we could have most often lost their nutritive value. Their good oils have evaporated most of the times. Plus हम जितना ये रेडीमेड पैकेट्स लेते हैं, हमें नहीं पता ये कब के when were they last grinded. Is it 6 months back? Is it 4 months back? And the nutrition holding capacity of flours is very less as compared to whole grains. Like एक आपका राइस का दाना 10 साल पुराना, आप उसको आज भी अगर मिट्टी में डालोगे तो इट विल ग्रो इनटू अ प्लांट, राइट? सो उसकी पावर इज सो पावरफुल. फॉर एग्जांपल ब्राउन राइस, इट इज सो पावरफुल एज कंपेयर्ड टू गेहूं की रोटी which is in a powdered form. So the more you go on high on whole grains, the more you're supporting your integrity of your entire cycle. High fiber fruits, yes, I said that consuming too much of fruits is bad, but not consuming at all is also not healthy. There has to be a balance between how much whole grains you consume, how much fruits you consume, and then going high on vegetables. For females, consuming beans or going high on all kinds of beans is amazing. That supports menstrual health. And being high on omega fats like flax seeds, chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, walnuts, all of these seeds are amazing to balance, create balance. But अगर आप ये सोचोगे कि मैं सिर्फ ये foods को include करके मेरा balance आ जाएगा, तो नहीं. And this is what we see in most cases. हम diet में सब सही कर देते हैं, कुछ differences भी आते हैं, but do you see reversals happening? No, because उसके ऊपर के जितने factors अभी तक हमने discuss किए हैं, those factors nobody is talking about, and this is where the base actually starts to happen. So food is important, but then it has to be aligned with all the other things that we just discussed. And then, so just to give you a quick brief up on different phases of your cycle, और उसमें आपके food practices कैसी होनी चाहिए. आपका menstrual phase, which was the phase 1, this is a time when you're feeling low, your energy is low, and then you need to support detoxification. So consuming any foods that support detoxification, like soothing teas like chamomile tea or a soothing tea, or and also limiting foods which can create toxins like fatty foods, alcohol, caffeine, or can create hindrance with your nervous system, which can create signaling issue that can impact your cycle. So all these foods should be avoided, and detoxifying foods should be preferred. Phase 2, because आपके hormones are build up हो रहे हैं, तो आपका focus होना चाहिए on fermented foods, because these fermented foods support your liver, and liver is the seat of those hormones. So आपके liver में जितनी energy होगी उतना better these hormones will be processed. Ovulatory phase, which is the third phase, being high on anti-inflammatory foods is recommended during this time. This is because your hormones are at its peak now, and this is the time when you're building up. So when you're building up, you need all kinds of very good quality building up agents. So it could be whole grains, vegetables, almonds. So junk food during this time, specifically menstrual time and follicular time, should be highly avoided. Ovulatory time, ideally तो वैसे सारा time पे ही avoid करना चाहिए, but if you at all want to have it, ovulatory time, because your processing energy is high, so still you can have it, some part of it in your ovulatory phase, with a good balance of yogic practices and right kind of foods as well. And luteal phase, this is a time when again your hormones will start to dip down, because वो cycle अब नीचे की तरफ आ रहा है, तो you need more foods which produce more feel good hormones, like serotonin producing feel good producing hormones like chickpeas, brown rice, or leafy greens, or quinoa, buckwheat. These support your feel good hormones. So yeah, I guess this is about it. Yeah, thank you so much for listening to me. I guess it was a very long session, but I think you could grasp a lot of it, and how female health is very deeply related to who you are, rather than just bringing about the small little changes about what do I add in my diet, or what do I minus in my diet, or what practice do I follow, or what I do or don't do. So yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I think I'm done.
Thank you, Deepti ji. That was a wonderful session. आपने पूरा मेना टू मेनोपॉज, इवन के पोस्ट मेनोपॉज वाला स्टेज भी आपने पूरा कवर किया, जिसमें डाइट के ऊपर है, हार्मोनल चेंजेस, और इवन के आपने आयुर्वेदा, सारा कुछ कवर किया. थोड़ा लॉन्ग सेशन था, बट काफी इंफॉर्मेटिव था. ऐसा कोई फेज नहीं छोड़ा जो रहे, जो मतलब मेरे को तो ऐसा लगता है जितने भी हमारे व्यूअर्स हैं, आई डोंट थिंक कि किसी को भी कोई कंफ्यूजन रही होगी, क्योंकि पूरा मेंस्ट्रुअल फेज मींस पूरी रिप्रोडक्टिव लाइफ साइकिल जो अपनी होती है वो पूरी की पूरी उन्होंने बहुत अच्छे से एक्सप्लेन करी है और बहुत साइंटिफिक तरीके से करी है। जैसे कि इन्होंने बताया कि बॉडी में जो फेजेस आते हैं सिंपैथेटिक और पैरासिम्पैथेटिक, यस इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, क्योंकि जब सिंपैथेटिक और पैरासिम्पैथेटिक में इम्बैलेंस होता है तो हमारा जो कुछ एक्सेस होते हैं, साइंटिफिक एक्सेस होते हैं, उनमें इम्बैलेंस हो जाता है, जिसे HPA एक्सेस कहते हैं। अगर उसमें प्रॉब्लम हो जाती है वो तभी आता है जब एड्रीनल ग्लैंड जो मतलब मीन्स जैसा अभी इन्होंने बताया कि सिंपैथेटिक मूड में आप नॉन स्टॉप रहते हैं तो सिंपैथेटिक एक्टिव हो जाता है, तो वो जब आगे फेज बढ़ता जाता है तो फिर वो जाकर HPG यानी कि हाइपोथैलेमिक पिट्यूटरी गोनाडियल एक्सिस, कहने का मतलब जो मेंस्ट्रुएशन साइकिल को तब जाके वो हिट करता है। और इन बिटवीन क्या होता है, एक टर्म होती है दिस इज कॉल्ड हाईजैकिंग ऑफ एमिग्डाला। वो अगर हो जाए तो लेडी की सोचने समझने की शक्ति भी चली जाती है, जिस वजह से उसको पता नहीं होता राइट टाइम पे क्या उसको राइट डिसीजन लेना है, या कोई मतलब डिसीजन मेकिंग, ये सब चीजें उसकी काफी वो बहुत वीक हो जाती है और वो किसी चीज को फेस नहीं कर पाती, कैसी भी सिचुएशन वो फेस नहीं कर पाती। तो ये बहुत ही साइंटिफिक तरीके से दीप्ति जी ने हमें एक्सप्लेन किया, एंड हम बहुत ज्यादा हम थैंकफुल हैं दीप्ति जी आपके कि आपने टाइम निकाला और इतना डिटेल में अच्छे से बताया, एंड व्यूअर्स इतने अच्छे अच्छे कमेंट्स कर रहे हैं। तो मेरे को लगता है कि किसी को भी अब कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है अगर आप अपना डाइट पैटर्न के साथ साथ आपका लाइफ साइकिल जो आपका लाइफस्टाइल है अलोंग विद जो इन्होंने बताया कि कौन कौन से फेजेस के अंदर हमें क्या क्या आसन्स करने चाहिए और किस तरीके से फॉर्म्स को चेंज करना चाहिए, अगर आप इसको रेगुलरली फॉलो करेंगे तो आपकी जो रिप्रोडक्टिव साइकिल है वो बहुत ही बढ़िया चलेगी। तो आई डोंट थिंक फिर किसी को इनफर्टिलिटी की प्रॉब्लम इतनी मैसिव तरीके से आएगी कि उसका कोई सोल्यूशन नहीं है अगर आप इसको अच्छे से करें। थैंक यू दीप्ति जी, थैंक यू सो मच, आपने टाइम दिया। और इसके साथ साथ में मेरी जो अपनी टीम है WHRF टीम को भी मैं थैंक्स करना चाहती हूँ कि उन्होंने टाइम वो बहुत ही मेहनत कर रहे हैं, सुबह से शाम तक लगे रहते हैं इस सेशन को चलाने के लिए। थैंक यू सो मच, थैंक यू सो मच, थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you
so much, Neha ma'am. Thank you for the
Thank you.
opportunity.
ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a wonderful platform.